Coming into this evening, there's been some last-minute substitutes, not just on the Rift, but here on the desk as well. Weapon, you and I are going to be handling the sticks tonight, running us through that analyst desk. But the one lesson, the one takeaway coming into this stage of the competition here for the Oceanic Resurrection Tournament is that victory is never a guarantee, regardless of what the result looks like on paper, because the game's not over until the Nexus falls.
No, definitely not. We were talking about it before. Like, there's a lot of ways that these teams can come back. It's resulted in a lot of back and forth. But we have to talk about the back and forth in the standings, because we are at the ultimate week of the tournament. And this is where the rubber hits the road. And for a lot of these teams, we have reached a state where it's just do or die. There's some tiebreaker potential, but a lot of these teams, it's win and get in.
I mean, that's exactly it. There's a lot of volatility in the groups at the moment. I mean, last week in particular, we had two very, very big matches rounding out I think it was the Sunday. And on paper, it was very, very clear cut. Everyone was saying, oh, it's going to go this way. And there were two very, very big upsets. And especially when it comes to crunch time like this in the best of one format, this is that prime time opportunity for those teams that may have been written off by the community, by the fans, to really hammer things home and potentially steal a spot away.
Yeah, absolutely. And then chances for the teams that are on their way out of the door to play spoiler for other teams, of course. So a lot to be decided in this final week. And I'm looking at that Group C. That's just two golden opportunities for all four of these teams to secure their spot into the playoffs. And I think that's probably our tightest group. So a lot to be determined from just this weekend of play about who goes forward, who will actually get to match up against the big dogs like the Rich Dynasties, like the Capybaras, the Coached by Woodlands of the world, because it's going to be a bit of a brawl in that Group C.
Yeah, I mean, there's everything to do going into tonight's and tomorrow's play days. So you want to be bringing your absolute A game. You want to be making sure that there is no chance that you let opportunities like this slip away from you. And especially with those teams sitting in the 1-1 vicinity, the entirety of Group C, in fact, will want to sort of buck that trend, get themselves up over that line into a qualification position. So there is really just so much to do. But coming into tonight, of course, the first night of the weekend, we've got four big matches. Capybara versus Low Cortisol, Rich Dynasty taking on Melbourne University Esports, Cat with Sombrero taking on Forever Blessed, and then rounding out the evening, Rush Hour 4 versus Skull Bullet. Now, Weapon, for my money, these are going to be some electric matches.
These are my eyes immediately go to that third match of the night, Cat with Sombrero versus Forever Blessed. Was talking about the implications to that group with everyone sitting in 1-1. I think this is a couple of our most evenly matched teams. There's a lot of experience on both sides heading in. That one is going to be fun. And then I think that second match, Rich Dynasty, Melbourne University. I've talked about how my ties to the intervarsity scene really make me favor the university teams heading in. UNSW, of course, have done me well in that regard. But this is do or die for Melbourne University against, I think, probably pound for pound, the best team in the tournament. So if they can rise to the occasion, that one is going to be a banger.
Absolutely. And I mean, opportunities for these young guns coming out of the collegiate scene to really punch above what would be considered their weight and getting themselves not just experience at a tournament like this, but even cracking into the playoffs and moving beyond that best of one format. So there is a lot to be gained here and very little to be lost, if we're being honest with ourselves. This is one of those, well, let's just commit to it. Let's try and make something happen, because the worst that happens is, well, we just look to queue up for the next tournament. So I think there is a lot to be gained for these young, ambitious players, and especially given some of the plays that we've seen over the last couple of weeks, there are a lot of hungry players looking to fill that void in a scene like Oceania.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even teams like Skull Bullet, who unfortunately have, I think they are very much statistically eliminated at this point. They only have the chance to play spoiler, but we've seen moments of brilliance from some of these less experienced players across the tournament. So really, really excited. But of course, yeah, we got to talk about this match one and the implications, because Capybara are our defending champions, but Refuria's in for Low Cortisol. That's crazy. We're going to talk about that. But Capybara, our defending champions, sitting at 1-1, not the expected result. coached by Woodon in their group, have been absolutely dominant. So this is their chance to correct the standings and get themselves back on track. And I'm looking at Halo versus Pro Fury. That matchup is going to be crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, the implications for this match, there are a couple of very, very big matches coming out of this group over the weekend. I mean, if Capybara beat Low Cortisol today, Maplers, if they beat Coach Woodon, it forces a three-way tie, I do believe, between all three teams, which would then result in some shenanigans to try and see who does make it through into that qualifier. So Capybara's looking for the win. Low Cortisol have had a bit of a rough run. So again, one of those matches on paper that you'd say, yeah, Capybara should have this in the bag, but Low Cortisol have some absolute units in that roster, and bringing in Rio Fury in the mid lane could be that little linchpin they need to buck that trend. And like you said, play spoiler, which is a hugely dangerous position, especially at this stage of the competition.
Yeah, 100%. And Low Cortisol, we have to talk about this for Fury sub in, because he's such a well-known quantity. I think he did end up hitting rank 1 challenger. He's definitely done it before. Probably going to see a lot of target on Fury in the ban phase, take away things like that Yone from him. So we'll see if that is the case. There's a lot of weird priorities as well, like Captain Tofu. You got the Teemo we've talked about, and Guacamole Gary and Bad Memory. They've had their moments, so definitely a chance they could pull off that upset. But it's a tall task. It's Halo. It's everyone on that team. I expect that that's going to go their way, but we'll see, because like we said, these games have been unpredictable.
Yeah, I mean, games that you'd think on paper were just a shutout. Like, they're no right to be won by the underdog, came out with a smashing performance from the underdog to really sort of upset things. But Weapon, it's time. Game 1 of the day. Let's jump into the draft and figure out how we're rounding out these compositions. What will be brought to bear to potentially either force that three-way tie for the Capybaras, I believe Maplers and Coach Woodon, or do we see that change again and Coach Woodon find themselves with a pretty easy run towards qualification? I mean, in terms of what we're seeing at the moment, Weapon, I mean, you're looking at your Oriana bans coming through. Rise, you would have thought, more consistently banned out, is being let through sort of like as a handshake pick.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely against Halo. I expect that one is going to be considered by Low Cortisol as the potential ban. Halo, of course, can just play everything meta right now. I think we've also seen some really good Azir from him. The Oriana, of course, does come to mind. He's very much kind of that, very much mage player in the mid lane who can play anything that the team requires. The other one you have to consider is, of course, Willy Wonka, and there's the Rise ban. Willy Wonka, of course, don't give him that Jax. Don't give him keyboard, mouse, oxygen, food, shelter, water, because he will take your top laner to task. So a lot to be considered by Low Cortisol going to this matchup. And the other one I want to talk about is the Ambessa, because that's been the talk of the tournament. Flex between top and jungle. We've seen it go mad in the jungle. If it gets banned here, if it doesn't get banned, I think that's going to be the pick that you maybe look to get put in the hands of Willy Wonka.
Absolutely. I mean, that guy really is sort of just the be-all and end-all, at least coming out of that amateur scene for the top lane in the region. He is even giving those well-established pros a decent run for their money up in the top lane. And I mean, Olaf, Rek'Sai being banned out away by the Capybaras, so a lot of focus around that top jungle combo. Yunara Rise coming back in response from Low Cortisol, so Daisy and Halo being targeted out there. Two very strong picks. Rise and Yunara do require a bit of ramp up. They need a bit of time to come online, but when they do, boy, do they come online.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a little bit more of this as we go throughout the season. With the changes to plating, the way that you still get you get chances for greater rewards the further you go into the game. I think that these mid-game spiking compositions, things like the Yunara and the Rise, once you get the actualizer spike online, just feel so effective and can really buy you out of what can otherwise be a fairly mediocre early game with a lot of these champions. So not surprised to see these champions targeted. There, of course, the Varus, which is still just the strongest priority getting bot laner in the meta.
The stat stick bot laner / top laner, depending on whether or not you're in ranked and playing into a degen. Either way.
And if you're a bad person.
Yeah. Some people are just too evil to be allowed to run free in competitive League of Legends. But Xin Zhao comes through for the Zuba Asian, a very safe jungler, very solid, consistent jungler in the meta. Hasn't really fallen out of favor for the last 18 months for very good reason. Plays very well in the front line. A lot to enable your control mages in the mid lane, and does a lot of frontline tanking for those heavy carries. But on the other side, Captain Tofu, Pantheon. Big fan of the Pantheon jungle because of that global pressure that it does offer.
Yeah, so strong, and also just gives you that point-and-click CC, so you can access the backline very easily, especially if you're coming in from a priority position with a flank. Love the Ornn as well, gives you more setup, so you can have the Ornn be your sort of front line, and then have the Pantheon be diving into the backline while the Ornn buys space. See what the crackback is, because things like your Ashe Seraphines of the world are still available, and there's the Ashe lock-in. And against something that's going to be fairly front to back focused outside of that Pantheon, I don't mind the look because, yeah, Xin Zhao buying space, Ashe Seraphine raining hell from far. That looks really, really good. I would not be surprised if Fury does go for something more mage focused, like one of those Orianas, and then you just hard target Halo in that second phase. So, see if that's what they end up going for. I think, yeah, Oriana feels good. Pantheon, dive onto the Ashe. I can see it.
Absolutely. I mean, arguments could be made for something a little bit more aggressive as well. Play in those flanks, try and shut down the Ashe before it really can find that effect. So far, I mean, low cortisol. Okay, so interesting. It does maybe lean to one of those lower range hyperscaling 80 carries, the Zeri's desires. Very risky, I'd imagine. Even potentially. Actually, I'm not even gonna speculate because it's grassroots esports. There is potential for some weird and wonderful picks. But so far, low cortisol, the draft that they're giving me is choke points. Choke points are going to be the downfall of Capybara. They don't want to be fighting in the jungle. If there is terrain nearby, it is going to be a death sentence. That Ornn Pantheon combo, just screaming in through those close quarters fights, are going to be very hard to deal with. And Ambessa taken away as well. Zeri, yeah, so Capybara very clearly leaning into what this Milio pick is likely trying to set up.
And you talked about short range, and yes, the range is going to be potentially a problem, especially when you get Ashe Seraphine. You've got a Xin, so if you're hitting him from afar, he pops the Crescent Guard, and you don't get to really interact with him for a few seconds. But I'm thinking low cortisol might be setting up for either a Jinx or a Sivir on their side, because you take Sivir, you got the Spell Shield, you take the Cleanse, that's another way to deal with the Ashe Seraphine. So if you can weather that early storm, then it does get you to a point where you can just kind of be behind the Ornn, behind the Pantheon, just kind of throwing out those W bouncing auto attacks. So we'll see if that is the direction they do go for here.
Yeah.
As on the other side, I really love this setup from Capybara, and I think you could auto complete this draft with basically anything. Willy Wonka could play that trademark Jax, which is open and available, and that just slots in so nicely just to threaten whatever is going to be that short range hyper carry.
Yeah, I mean, they've sort of hit both of those angles as well, not just the short range carries, but the likes of the Caitlyn, the Tristana, who will at a certain point outrange the Ashe, especially when paired with Emilio. So Capybara have done this ban phase very well. So it's going to be the Jinx instead. Also a champion that at a certain point with Emilio paired with it is going to be a bit of a struggle, assuming that, you know, they have the tools to keep that front line alive. But I mean, realistically, there's a lot that needs to be done here for Capybara to try and get through what is going to be a very hard to deal with frontline Pantheon. While not traditionally the most tanky champion, can just throw up the shield, then blocks a lot of damage, and then you have Ornn coming in on the backside of it. Zaheen. Oh, okay. Okay, I've seen a lot of talk about Zaheen and what people think about it in the top lane. And into an Ornn, it's probably one of the better matchups you could have.
Yeah, definitely. You can take the grasp, you can take pretty even trades. He will just sustain through that lane, as will the Ornn, and you'll come out the other side probably both feeling quite happy, looking to round out the draft. Need a lot more damage here from Capybara, I think, to feel really confident about what they can do to access this Jinx. I would not mind seeing something can commit a little bit more aggressively. I was going to say exactly this pick, the Azir, because it gives you the ability to shuffle in after the crowd control goes down, put the Jinx in an uncomfortable position, and then you look to blow her up with the Ashe Seraphine with the Zaheen damage, and then you win the fight by rote, because it's just, again, not a lot of damage on the low cortisol side either. So very similar situations in both drafts.
Yeah, I mean, do we see the handshake of the Talia? It's going to be a victory. I was thinking maybe the Great Wall of Sparta just played a game in terms of just out macro, because you've got that Weaver's Wall, because you got the Grand Starfall. Suddenly, what is a 2v2 is suddenly a 4v2, and you can play it that way. But Victor, I mean, look, he's going to do all right. He's going to become a bit of a monster. You've still got the frontline beef of that Ornn and Pantheon combo. You then have the ability to rain down Hellfire with the Chaos Storm, and of course Jinx going absolutely ballistic with the Fish Bones. So I rate low cortisol's draft. I think situationally could be a little bit hard to execute, but much is the same for Capybara.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely moments for both of these drafts where they will be able to pop off, and I think a lot of it is going to come around enabling Willy Wonka to get into those flanking positions, as well as Deceperation potentially being that kind of pincer movement, because you can control a lot of space with Ashe Seraphine with the Azir, so you can kind of have that one person be that member who's needing to be marked by the rest of the team, and then I think if you can find those angles where you're both coming in from multiple angles of attack, you get the Jinx, and then either or the Victor, both are valuable targets. And then, like I said, it's kind of that grind out of the rest of the fight because you've gotten that key target down. So looking for a lot of snap decisiveness from Capybara, which they certainly have shown in the past. So we'll see if they can get it. Whereas, low cortisol, like you said, very happy to brawl it out.
Yeah.
They've got an Ornn.
I mean, look, both drafts really have a lot that can shine, and I'm really excited to see yet another Seraphine. We've seen some absolutely standout support play over the last couple of weeks. In fact, game-defining support play, and Seraphine has been one of the usual suspects drafted in that role. My one concern for Capybara is their frontline is a little bit fraudulent between a Zaheen and a Xin Zhao. Yes, it is going to be sticking around a long time, but as soon as that Crescent sweeps down, as soon as Zaheen does get that revive off, suddenly you've got a lot less stickability. It does mean that these fights get drawn out. If low cortisol can bait out key abilities from Capybara, that fight becomes a little bit rough. But we won't know until we get onto the Rift, of course, weapon. If you had to put pink slips down, looking at the drafts as we head onto the Rift, which one are you favouring?
Pink slips, man. My car. God. No, I actually do favor Capybara, I think, heading into this one. Of course, Low Cortisol have had a bit of a disastrous run. The Refury sub gives me a bit more hope, but I think that this is where we're going to see Capybara kind of put it together. They've got this really strong laning duo. They've got a mid lane which can survive, and then they've got the Zaheen, which will just become a juggernaut. The scaling on this champion is out of control. Refury taking some nice trades here. Not what you want to see from Halo.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's definitely not Refury. It's someone else.
As you can see,
yeah,
right.
It's clearly not him. But yeah, I mean,
we've been bamboozled.
Played these League of Legends players just too smart. You can already see, unfortunately for Halo, being a little bit zoned off that way. He should be fine. Shouldn't really involve too much intervention from to Super Asian at this point, but. At this stage of the competition, you can see how much this means, and Guacamole
so
Gary's in so much trouble. Has taken so much punishment in the early stages of the lane phase. Pots are gone. You've got you've got heal and bad memories back pocket, but this might be an early recall for us.
It might be. Guacamole Gary is so low. Now, it is a jinx. He can kind of sit back, pop the fish bones. Oh my god.
The aggressive Ignite play from Refury, which we are seeing a lot of mid laners do now, and looking for those aggressive trades. Unfortunately means they won't quite have the same macro level, but getting that back early off on a Halo could, especially given the creep differential in the mid lane, throw things a little bit awry.
Yeah, and what that potentially does is, sets up a wave that is going to be pushing slowly for the side of Refury into him. So with the Pantheon, the much more reliable ganking jungler with that point-and-click crowd control, could look to set it up. Looks like Halo has managed to kind of get himself a little bit of a phrase here, but you always have the option of dunking the wave as Refury. I also want to point out, he was very safe taking those trades because he had that one little bit of vision in that topside jungle for Refury. So he was able to just step up. Guacamole Gary, he's going to get single autoed and die.
He's playing a very dangerous game, and he has had to recall. I don't blame him. You don't want to be throwing away advantages if you don't need to. But, yeah, a bit of a dicey start to the game for Low Cortisol.
Yeah, definitely not what you want to see. That little bit of gold lead just off of the resets that have been forced. Refury's going to be holding his own in the mid lane. He's completely fine. Keeping your eyes on these junglers. They are completing their first clears down towards that bot side. Do you have Guacamole Gary coming off his base? So he does have full resources, but that slight gold lead over to the Ashe Seraphine, very much expected at this stage of the game. Really waiting, I think, for level 6s on the Ashe Seraphine before you can start to be effective. And I think once you get that around that Dragon Spawn, then if you kept up this pace of play where you are just eking out these small advantages, then that's where it comes online, right? It's just you fight around Dragon, you throw your R buttons at the opponents, and something has to give.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not something that I've noticed seeing that much of the Oceanic Resurrection tournament, which is the sending Ashe mid, regardless of the matchup, because of how much power comes off that Enchanted Crystal. I think teams would probably benefit quite a lot sending it there, just because it gives you a little bit more global pressure, and suddenly, the scrap that's happening in the top lane, suddenly it's just an Enchanted Crystal arrow screaming down from the river, and the fight's gone horrifically wrong.
Yeah, Wonka has not taken his reset yet, so he's going to have a massive advantage on the base timer when he does take it, as he will be taking that now. We'll see what he comes back to lane with. Of course, it is going to be that wet noodle fight up in the top lane, so not going to make a difference. But again, it's about all those small advantages we talked about coming out of draft, where Wonka does want to be ahead enough to be able to stamp his authority, to get to the fights first, and he certainly is doing that with, again, just that little bit of a lead. Speaking of leads, Izzy and Kenzo, like Jinx, Milio just don't get to play the game.
Absolutely. I mean, that early trade going so horrifically wrong, putting Guacamole Gary in such a rough spot. It was very nearly bones on the ground for him. If he'd stepped up a little bit further, there was a good chance one of those auto attacks would have connected. It would have been an easy kill, but you can see the trading really ramping up across the rift. We saw it pretty consistently up in that top side every time we flicked back. It's a bit of a wet noodle fight, let's be honest. That tends to be how top lane goes. But even the mid lane, Re Fury now under pressure from Halo.
Yeah, really nice. That matchup does swap as you get more points into the W or the Q, whichever direction you go for. It gives you that little bit more agency. Usually it's the W just for pushing the waves that little bit faster. But what I'm looking at here is it is going to be 5 minutes on the clock very, very shortly. Dragon spawning in 3 seconds. Both bot lanes have looked for their reset and both junglers finished in their clear down towards the bot side. You can see Kenvo has linked up with the jungle to make sure he might have popped a sweeper to try and make sure there wasn't any cheeky raptor wards so the jungler wasn't noted. And they are going to be looking to gear up for this dragon fight, or maybe even just a dragon take if Daisy and Kenvo can keep Guacamole Gary honest.
One goes out, but Wonka responds with his own ult. Suicune in a bit of trouble, forced to flash away. Willy Wonka will have that summer advantage for the time being, and a CS lead that, I mean, hasn't widened beyond sort of 10 CS, is putting this poor Ornn in a really rough position. Does have the Bramble Vest now, so we'll cut through some of that healing. Buttercup, it's old Captain Tofu on the Pantheon. Can they interrupt this recall? I think Willy Wonka's sixth sense has been tingling because he knows something's up.
Yeah, he knows something up. Surely he just walks away. But it is Willy Wonka. We have to note he is a bit of a psychopath at times, but he is going to walk away. Press the B button, take his lumps and take his reset, take his gold, and buy more items, which is really good signs for Capybara because again, they're not really under a lot of pressure here. It looks like that dragon. The whole river controlled completely by their side, just off the bot lane priority, just off of Capybara mid. Halo himself having push in this matchup, so it is 0-0, very slow, but you can see those little advantages stacking up, 700 to the good. So Capybara just slowly taking control of this game.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of posturing, a lot of just sort of staunching up to each other and anticipating a fight, but nothing really coming of it. Gravity Well does go out, and Halo's just going to duck out of it to avoid that stun, gets a bit of extra damage on Re Fury, who does have the Ignite up. So that is something that will need to be respected by Halo if he's not careful. That trade can quickly turn on a dime. But for now, things going to ease. Guacamole Gary having been given a bit of a reprieve in this bot lane. Daisy and Kenvo looking for that recall.
And they will take it. That's going to be the boots picked up by Daisy on the Ashe, so a little bit more lethality when it comes to you land that W, you can chase down the target, gives you more room to move in the fight, so I do like the choice. It is going to be that Chemtech Drake, so as much as we talk about the junglers wanting to get onto that objective nice and early, both sides do have some growing to do in this game in terms of their scaling, so not expecting at this stage, if we haven't hit it yet, that we are going to look to try and prioritize this objective, probably looking at the grub spawn in about 35 seconds. With those clears completed for both junglers, probably going to be using their time to reset and get up there. But
Chaos
Super
Storm,
Agent,
Enchanted Crystal Arrow does just miss, but in comes the Super Asian. The God Sword falls right on the head of Re Fury. Almost gets the trade back, and he will with the Ignite.
He gets it.
The Martyrdom Summoner from Re Fury trades it at a 1-for-1.
The Super Agent tries to find the play, just forsakes his bot side in favor of looking for an advantage in mid. That is going to open up this potential dragon here as Bad Memories leashed it, but there is no Pantheon to speak of. And that trade 1-for-1, not going to change the complexion of the game, but it does show that Re Fury is still able to be relevant in this game. I think he is going to be very important with the way that this bot lane has been going for low cortisol. They really need that point of power, and Re Fury is looking to be that for them.
And you got to respect the call not to drag Captain Tofu in, who did have that Grand Starfall. It would have been a wasted ultimate, and Re Fury still does get that kill back in response, so he is going to still be able to look to impact the map, possibly. Flash there for Halo, so that's not the biggest amount of kill threat available, and especially with Willy Wonka looking to rotate down as well. They're angling for something here onto Halo, but it's not going to find any traction.
Super Agent just took his reset, so he did get that one kill. He's going to get himself a Sundered Sky. That spike is going to be a big deal, especially because Captain Tofu is going for the full dopamine, full lethality build. Looks like they're very happy to trade off this Chemtech Drake for what will eventually be those 3 grubbies. And when you've got an Ashe Seraphine that is just putting Jinx and Milio permanently under their tower, getting the chip damage on the tower, those 3 grubbies, not as strong as they used to be, but definitely will help out.
Yeah, I mean, especially compared to a Chemtech at the moment, it's not the most impactful dragon that you could find. And it's Singularity or even as Soul up in the top lane. The slap fight continues. Suicune just stacking up. Has equalized that creep score, so definitely not quite as under the pump as he was not that long ago. But again, it's still an Ornn versus Zaheen. There is a slightly different impact each is going to be bringing to a team fight.
Yeah, most definitely. Going to be all about finding those angles into the fight, whereas the Ornn just gets to press his buttons and stand in front. And Willy Wonka, nasty trade. Base damages on the Ornn, pretty gross. But he is just playing this out nicely. You can see he's also bought the coal because he knows that this is going to be a very slow lane and he can just eke out those small advantages in that way. But love to see it. Not much to speak of. 1-1 on both sides. Still even. Capybara.
Yeah, the Shurima shuffle not quite on the money. Fury can just sort of giggle and walk that one out.
Yep, the emote popped by Halo tells the whole story. Really nice. I think he just a little backstep on the shuffle, knowing that it was coming in. Also throw down the gravity field just in case, so really well played by Fury. And this substitute really actually kind of putting in work for low cortisol. A big pickup. When I saw him on the way,
an aggressive push through, but the Chaos Storm is there. There is still flash for Halo, but he's got the Super Asia coming in support. It's no flash for the Victor now, but he sidesteps away from danger. And another attempt from Capybaras goes wanting, as they will just sidestep away. Fury again, not even easing up on the pressure as he sees the Super Asian fade into the jungle.
Yeah, knows exactly where he is, so he can just go back to hitting that tower. Furious Ruben with the mechanics, just going kind of sicko mode on them. Just the side steps. Has so much pressure in this matchup, has the lead. Going to be able to pick up. No?
Oh, looking aggressively. Oh, Fury stunned even. But the Ignite again, so one track. Great Starfall this time. Unfortunately, it is wasted a little bit, and Buttercup is under the tower, taking so much punishment. And this should be a nice, easy kill for the Super Asian if he can stick to him, and he will. A horrific misplay results in a 2-for-1 going the way of the Capybaras.
Oh, it was so good when Fury got the trade, but then Captain Tofu just presses the R button, dives in, literally pays for his hubris, because he's gone such a tanky build that he doesn't have anyone to set him up. Daisy.
Guacamole Gary still hanging on for the littlest bit. The Super Mega Death Rocket comes out as well, but the heal. Bad Memory drops the ult. Trying to drop a beat too, but unfortunately the beat's falling flat. It's just chaos across the board. It's going to be Daisy fighting the kill. The flash away does just sidestep. Could have been the trade that Bad Memory was looking for. A dicey fight in an aggressive trade from Guacamole Gary that puts him in death's door.
Okay, I see it. I see the vision. If this is the way this game is going to play out, Buttercup is on the flank, doesn't have the empowered E, so I don't know if he's going to be able to catch up with this. Burns the flash.
Slowed. He will just connect. Can he finish off Daisy? The heal comes through.
No
and
way.
It's going to be a 2-for-1 rather in the end. Not even a 2-for-1. It's just a 2-for-0. My God.
We're going to see it again. See this from Daisy, just stepping up, has the barrier ready for the bait. The ultimate comes out. It's just not enough damage. And then Kenbo, it just dives onto the tower with absolute reckless abandon. The W tagging Gary there. And then this flash into the bush stops any follow-up auto attacks from Guacamole Gary. So it's just enough, even dodging the super mega fire kick. Bad Memory does get away with his life at the end of it, but then Buttercup, again, he's not tanky enough to go for these 1v1 plays.
And
the gank up to the upside switch, you don't notice.
He is a bit hard to chew through this Ornn, but the stat stick power of the Zaheen. Flash is there. Buttercup might just leave his top lane.
He's got the passive.
The passive should carry him through. Oh, and no, Buttercup is just going to let his top laner fall. And unfortunately, Bad Memory might also do the same as they now turn their attention to this poor little Milio. And look who's here to join the party. No minion wave to speak of, unfortunately. And weapon, it's that domino effect. It's the butterfly effect. Buttercup wasting the Grand Starfall mid means that it's not available for him to come and join the fight in the bot lane. If not for that fact, Cortisol might have been sitting in a pretty spot right now. Yeah,
definitely. It's this string of plays that have really not paid off for them. And it was these little dominoes were starting to fall. You could see where Zaheen was getting the advantage. You had this massive advantage bot lane. The Ashe has just picked up that Storm Racer, so she's going to be massive when it comes to chasing down those targets.
Oh, and the Shurima shuffle again. Fury. He's not going to get the Martyrdom Ignite this time around. He's trying to walk himself away, but the Super Asian should be able to connect, and he does. And Zin's out at 14 minutes into the game is on a killing spree.
Yeah, and like, I love going for the dopamine build on Captain Tofu, but I have to call it out because every time he's tried to take these fights, it's always been in this sort of 1v1 honor duel situation where if you're isolating a target out, if you're playing off someone else's CC, then yeah, you can totally blow someone up with the full lethality. But it's not been that scenario, so the Super Agent has just looked so much better because he's gone for the Sun to Sky, has the healing, has the health, and he's been able to scrap, honestly, against his opposition and look great. Daisy.
Looking for Sergeant, the Guacamole Gary's in trouble, the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Now there we go, the Grand Starfall comes screaming on, Tokyo Drift, but unfortunately here comes the Super Asian in response of his own, and those pink slips going wanting a triple kill in the pocket of Ash, and that is a big payday. Capybara as well and truly in the driving seat.
They are just taking this game by 4. 7k to the good is the lead. And it's all just off the back of just this bot lane absolutely dominating and just making plays like this. They just step forward. They know the Grand Starfall is behind them. They don't care. They have the Super Agent in the back pocket. And Daisy, with this Stormrazor, so much mobility.
Willy Wonka.
Wait, Wonka?
He's going to walk himself out. He's fine. Zaheen, deceptively bulky. Oh, Reeve Fury, I'm not sure if this is a fight you want to take, but he's not going to find it anyways. Willy Wonka has just slunk away from danger. And that's a tower, buddy. I don't know if you want to walk through. Okay, he's just going to... Okay. And look, it's the fastest way back to base.
Yep. Quick B, all good. Going to get some plate gold into Sweet June. Definitely going to help him get to a relevant state in this game. Zehen, you can't go for plays like that against him because he's kind of like a Nunu. You know, the full AP Nudu where he bites you and heals half his health bar. Silas, probably another one. The Q does deceptively a lot of healing, especially if you get more points in it. So you walk up, go to hit him, suddenly, oh, he's actually just not killable, and then he kills you because he gets his passive stack. It's pretty gross. I actually am a big fan of that champion.
Oh, look, there is some fun to be had in League of Legends, to say the very least, but it's a rough gig for sure. Currently, low cortisol looking very much like the Warriors at the hands of the West Tigers. It is not a pretty sight at all. There's Capybara as well in the driving seat. 8.3k gold lead before the 20-minute mark, and 1.8k of that. It's not even the largest gold lead in the hands of Daisy, but probably the scariest gold lead on the Rift.
Yeah, most definitely. And Ashe is one of those champions where we talk about her having not the most damage when it comes to being the AD carry role, especially compared to things like Jinx that can just become massive. But this is a Jinx who has been put so far behind. Normally you see things like the Hex Optics build on Jinx, but you know, when that doesn't go to plan, you pivot to something that's a little bit easier in terms of the build path, and that usually is the Kraken Slayer. So kind of gimping her damage there. And then the Ashe just being so far ahead means that even in these heads-up, front-to-back team fights, you are going to have the advantage because you've got range, you've got the Super Agent who can buy you space on the front line. So I think at this point, as Capybara, you can just take any single fight, and it's going to be Dragon spawning in 2 minutes 30. You can just look to keep your waves pushed, collapse on those plays, and just kind of play it out by rote, whereas Cortisol, I have to see them make a play around this Pantheon ult, which is off cooldown, and try and isolate someone out, blow them up, make that pick so they can keep
shot on the top lane. Reeve Fury's up the tower. He's going to die to the exact same tower he died 2 minutes ago. But this time, not an execute. Unfortunately, Tofu has also been found. And in this 1v1, the Hubris Pantheon with not a single kill or assist to his name is not that jacked up beef jerky monster that he could be.
It's just really awkward to play, Daisy.
What an ultimate from Kenbo! Guacamole Gary flashes into it, hit by the charm, and another 2 kills going the way of Daisy. The support diff is speaking volumes.
It's just ridiculous. Kenbo has been playing out of his mind. This ultimate landing flashes into it, just Guacamole Gary. So really going to be regretting that one. Definitely wants his money back. But I think, Panda, it might be time to start putting away the conversation about Ashe being low damage. I think Stormrazor changes that complexion a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you load into the Rift, you see the Seraphine, pretty pink, it's sparkly, and you look under the veil, and it's not Seraphine, it's Mark Henry under the veil, looking to drop their hammer on you from the top rope, which, if you don't know wrestling, that is probably the scariest sentence anyone has said, because Mark Henry is a big bloke. And, well, yeah, him from the top rope is going to break something. And right now, the thing that is breaking is the will of low cortisol. 17-4, 11,500 gold lead, 3 grubs, a dragon to their name, and Baron likely on the horizon.
It is the expected result. Had high hopes for the Rafuri sub-in, and the game is certainly far from over. But Rafuri, I think, especially, even though he is 3-7, just quietly has racked up a bunch of deaths, but he looked so good in the early game, even when the rest of the map was a little bit, you would say underwhelming, charitably. But he's just kind of fallen by the wayside as well. So now it's like, who do you really play around? And I go back to the idea of picks, and it starts to look even harder because all of your lanes are going to be pushed. I don't think there's a single person you can really 1v1, even if you put the Ashe against anyone on the enemy team. So it starts to look a little bit dire. Wonka.
Oh,
commit the ult.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. He's strong enough in this top lane matchup that he can pretty much just go toe-to-toe with anyone that he wants, and he's not going to suffer all that greatly. Baron spawned, and it looked like it might just be an on-spawn take here from the Capybaras. Daisy is an absolute beast on this Ashe right now. They clear that vision. They can at least bait a fight out here, because low cortisol cannot afford to let this Baron go down if they want even a sniff at a potential comeback.
Yeah, most definitely. They're going to park this Ashe mid lane, get some permanent priority. The only concern is this top wave, where Fury is waiting in the wings.
He's well behind enemy lines. Halo, the gravity well is there, and they are just going to drop everything. The hammer falls, and that is a dead Azir, but at what cost?
And that is the only situation where you want to see a full lethality Pantheon on your team. When you've got someone completely isolated, you pick the target, you blow them up, gets them a little bit of breathing space in this room, but in this game. But that is about all it's going to get them. They're not going to be able to convert Suffer Tower just yet. So it is a little bit of a reprieve, but that is still a 10k gold lead. That's still gross.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, the payphone's ringing. Noah's there to answer. Low cortisol very much lacking in that damage threat department. You can see an Infinity Edge being worked on here by Guacamole Gary, but you feel like we're in a spot where that may not even make the most significant distance. And hey, there you go, Halo teleporting in. They're going to start that Baron up. It's a minute and 15 after it spawned, but essentially on Rip, and there's very little that low cortisol can do to contest, especially with an Ashe providing that vision.
Yeah, they just rip the cord. They say no, they don't want any of that smoke.
Grand Starfall, they want the smoke. Unfortunately, it's barbecue time and Pantheon's on the menu.
Oh no, that's another wrestling reference for all of you 90s kids. And they're just going to win this fight easily from here. The arrow is going to be off cooldown just a second. Do they go for it? They do.
What a sidestep. That was big from Guacamole Gary. I mean, to be fair, the game feels like it is in a horrendous spot. But I don't think, unfortunately, we're going to get that coffin sit-up moment like we had in the good old days of wrestling. The Undertaker has retired. The gimmick's over. There is no chance of a comeback. And that final nail in the coffin being slammed on low cortisol right now is the mid-tier 3 falls. Willy Wonka, look at him. Is playing gatekeep, separating low cortisol from even defending their inhibitor.
They've got the wave coming in top as well. Capybara looking to choke slam this game. They're going to be able to get this inhibitor, the engage coming in.
The Ornhorn does connect on the 2, but the ult out from Kendo once again in the thick of it. The frontline power of the Xin Zhao enabling Daisy to run rampant. It is just Captain Tofu, Fury, and Guacamole Gary to hold a 3v5, and unfortunately, you got to wonder, maybe there was nerves on the side of Fury coming into this game. Maybe nerves on the side of the entire team, because Mum Spaghetti is spattered on their shoes and the floor.
Yeah, this was their chance to play spoiler, and they are not going to be able to spoil any of Capybara's parade. They get everything they want. Top and mid inhibitor is going to be going down. There is no dragon to speak of to convert off of this, and I don't think we're even going to live to see that that fourth dragon in this game, as Halo's just straight back out on the map. Buttercup, I don't even know if he can 1v1 here. Let's find out.
I've got support. Guacamole Gary's dying. I say support. He wasn't really going to be doing much. And oh, what a shuffle. It's not even a shuffle. It's just the Emperor's Divide. Scooping up this Pantheon. Dumping him in with the rest as that Enchanted Crystallara comes screaming in from that cortisol jungle. Now the Super Asian Willy Wonka on the hunt. My God, the damage onto Bad Memory. Guacamole Gary not far to fall. And he will drop this Xin Zhao monster that has been building all game, is now untouchable. Grand Starfall in, and it's nothing. He's gone. He's come down from heaven. He's about to go right back up. And then Ornhorn 2, well off the money. The Call of the Forge God does nothing. Nil. Zip. It doesn't connect on a single target as the low cortisol's crumbling in the face of the Capybaras. It will be the victory they need. This could be their opportunity to force a 3-way tie in Group A.
Absolutely massive for Capybara, looking to take their tournament life into their own hands. We will see how it shakes out at the end of the weekend, but this was a team we expected to do well. And this is kind of the results we expect from this team. And can I just say, I think I've said this before, but Zehen is such a Willy Wonka champion because going in like a maniac is kind of just what he does, and that's what Willy Wonka will do on any champion. We didn't get to see a lot of him on this champion. It really was around this bot lane, but just such a well-played game, and I think something they needed. We needed to see a statement from this team. We needed to see that they deserve to be the defending champions.
Absolutely. I mean, it was a very, very clean game. It wasn't showy, it wasn't flashy. They just came in with a draft that works solidly if it's played correctly, and they played it correctly. And they capitalized on some really big mistakes there from Low Cortisol, who were in prime position to play spoiler coming into this, key matchup for the Capybaras. But unfortunately, it just wasn't allowed to happen.
Yeah, and as much as I don't want to sort of tunnel down on a particular choice made by the Low Cortisol, no frontline outside of the Ornn definitely felt bad. The Pantheon is so effective when you build things like the Sundered Sky, and we just didn't see it. You saw the vision. You saw that pick in the top lane where the Pantheon had enough damage, but at that point, it was a bit too little too late. So an unfortunate choice. They'll be taking that one to the bank, and hopefully we'll see them again in another tournament because Captain Tofu, all of these guys are players we've seen do really well in other tournaments. So hopefully see them back. But that'll be the end of the road for them.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, it was a good draft. If it played in those choke points, if it played in the jungle, if it played as a 5-man stack, as a front, 5-man unit, that Low Cortisol draft, I think, does a lot and finds a lot of success when it comes to skirmish time. But unfortunately, it happened maybe once, twice towards the end of the game there, but by that stage the game was essentially over. It was a complete blowout in favor of the Capybaras, who not only had just steamrolled Daisy into this monstrous ash that she got there by the end, but you also had Kenvo making sure that even if Daisy was threatened, it wasn't for very long.
Yeah, and I think we also have to talk about just the mechanical prowess that this bot lane showed. Daisy and Kenvo, Kenvo, of course, coming in was someone we knew from the InterVarsity scene, but Daisy, not someone I'm familiar with, unless there is a name swap that I've just not been made aware of. But they showed that they can hang with the big dogs because they looked absolutely incredible. And as far as I'm aware, this is the new change for this roster as well.
I hate to break this to you, but unfortunately we do have the mask has slipped. The reveal is that Daisy apparently is the Poo Queen. Of course, it was Poo Queen. It
that's
makes
a
sense.
Okay, better name.
Okay, we got to stop glazing him now. Suddenly he doesn't deserve it because that's what we've come to expect from him. Like that, jeepers, my lord. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it makes sense. It's suddenly the veil of mystery has been lifted.
Terrible name, great player. I'm glad that we're going by Daisy these days. That's a good one. Thank you, Poo Queen. Really appreciate that. Yeah. I'm glad we don't have to say that on cast anymore. Although we had said it for like
the last 2 minutes. Yeah. But either way, look, it's a team, especially looking at how they're playing. I'm expecting to make a deep cut in that playoffs, especially with someone like Daisy, as we'll call him going forward. In that ADC position, they've got the synergy down. I mean, Kenvo, I thought for sure he'd just completely wasted an ultimate, sent it into the wind, and then Guacamole Gary flashes it into. He anticipated the aggression from Low Cortisol, and whether it's intentional or not, he's 100%. I guarantee you, he's just going to say, that was the plan all along. But it worked, and he was consistently there, babysitting his bot laner until it got to the point where suddenly Seraphine was no longer a babysitter; it was instead a backpack.
Yeah, 100%. Really incredible performance by this team. Want to see what they can do heading into the tournament because they are our defending champions, so we need to see them step up against the big dogs.
I mean, that's exactly it, but that is only the appetizer. That is the first course here for tonight, game 1 of 4. After the break, we jump into our second game of the evening, and if that was the appetizer, this meal is looking delicious. We'll see you back. Game one in the books. As we come back from the break, we look to the future, of course, here in the Oceanic Resurrection Tournament. Now, Weapon, game one set up what could potentially result in a three-way tie for the Maplers, Capybaras, and coached by Woodon. But coming into our second game of the evening, stakes not necessarily as high coming into it. Group B has been a little bit more all over the show. But again, these key matches just ahead of that playoffs bracket become so much more important.
Yeah, 100%. Do or die for all of our teams in this weekend. We'll see what they can get done. I really, really hope that we see a competitive one here. Now, there's a lot of stipulations, a lot of asterisks on this one for the Melbourne University esports side, which we will be getting into. But for the side of Rich Dynasty, I think this is a team that we looked at going in, just thinking they would coast their way into the playoffs. And so far, look to be very much the case. The duo of Poltron and Raze, I think especially, has been so impressive to watch, and the supporting cast around them has looked great. But I want to talk about the caveats behind Melbourne University Esports, because I have sung the praises of Mingji and Summoner 7, who will not be taking to the Rift today. It is some substitutes. We've been told they are very, very performant in their roles. But you can see Voyas put in the mid lane. It makes me really, really nervous for this team.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the consistency we've seen out of Rich Dynasty, even though they are sitting 2-1, they have just far and away looked like one of the potentially the pinnacle of teams in this competition. I mean, BBP up in the top lane, Poltron in the jungle, Marsh, he's doing some crazy stuff in the mid lane on these control mages, just incredibly capable. And then, yeah, having those last minute roster swaps for Melbourne University Esports, again, on paper, you look at that and say this is probably not the most conducive environment to an upset win.
Definitely not, especially with two of your star players sitting on the bench. So we'll see how they go. Hal up in the top lane is very much, I think, plug and play for Voyas in terms of the role. Very much a tank Andy, lots of Cassante on the solo queue account. So expect that to be targeted. But if you're a tank player, you can play one, you can play them all. The big question I am going to have is around that mid-jungle pairing. Much as it always is with the conversation around this team, Mingji Lee and Summoner 7, how is Voyas and Kiki going to slot into that role? Will they be able to be as performant as the other duo that they have sitting on the bench? Because they have their work cut out against them, against Ma and Poltron, who I think are just looking like an indomitable force in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, such an important duo on the Rift as a whole. It needs to be sort of a solid foundation, because if you're lacking that consistency, that duality of a jungle mid combo that can play off of each other, can feed into each other, it really can just undermine the entire aspect of that team play. But coming into the draft, of course, game two here, we saw the Lethality Pantheon coming out in our last series. I'd imagine we're probably not going to see that same level of shenanigan.
Don't want to see that one again. Hopefully not, unless there's a place for it. And there is maybe a time and place, but maybe not for that one. I can't remember which fighter who said that. There's a time and place for every technique. I feel like it was George St. Pierre. Anyway, Syndra going to be taken away. Really question marks around what Voyas' champion pool is, because in the top lane, he is very much the passive player. He is the pressure valve. He is the weak side king. So maybe you just keep it standard, assume that he's just going to play something that is going to be utility for the team, something long range. We shall see. BBP is on the Rift, so ban Ambessa and don't think twice about it. And of course, Poltron can play anything, but I'm expecting him to play something facilitative for the team. The J4 ban on their side is interesting, because that's usually something we'd see him go for, but Xin Zhao, Pantheon, all these options available.
It does mean that there is a little bit less threat for some of those more immobile champions. Obviously, Jarvan, once he hits 6, that Cataclysm, just very, very hard to get out of for the immobile bot laners and mobile mages in the mid lane. So less of a concern. Now, is also just a fairly consistently good jungler at the moment. Yunara taken away from Raze. I mean, to be fair, I don't know if there is much that you can ban away from him to stop him running away with the game in that bot lane. Yunara is certainly a champion you don't want him to have.
Yeah, definitely not. I feel like anything you give this player, especially we saw him on the Sivir, go absolutely huge. That's the other kind of hyper carry de jure alongside the Jinx. And I said this last week, feeling very validated that players and teams are finding the Jinx button a little bit sooner in the draft, because I think she's very good, despite what that last game might lead you to believe. As final ban to be coming through, would not be surprised if this one is the Ambassador, because he can pick it up. It can be flex top, it can be flex jungle. So that could potentially be the option with the Rise off the table. The other one, I think we saw a Jin first pick from this team. I can't remember who it was. That's a better move.
It's always a bold call first picking a Jin. I mean, in general, picking a Jin feels smoother looking too. But yeah, Mbessa for either BVP or Poltron and the top or jungle just gives them that little bit of added flexibility when it comes to the draft. Can throw a little bit of a spanner in the works in terms of how Melbourne University Esports are looking to approach. Victor picked up for Voyas in the mid lane. Look, Victor can be a monster, but again, it very much similar to how Israel and Jin function in that bot lane is it requires things to go very well for the Victor. He needs to be playing from ahead. Playing Victor from behind is probably one of the most uncomfortable situations I think I've ever witnessed on the Rift. They pick up the Aphelios. Again, they've got a solid powerhouse. They just need those enabling tools to round out this draft.
Yeah, absolutely. And they can look to round that out with something like the Lulu, something like the Thresh that empowers the Aphelios. I do like that. If the rest of your map has been reshuffled, then lean on what is dependable for you. And Ayamaru and Depashi have been fairly good. That's a bot lane pairing you definitely don't want to see if you're an Aphelios. So I think that all but confirms that we are going to be looking at a Thresh to get that thing out of dodge and out of the way of those potential pop blossoms. We'll see if that is the lock-in. But that is a strong engage core. And I have a feeling that Ma is going to be looking... Oh, okay, we just lock away the Cassandre.
Okay.
Yikes. I have a feeling that Ma is going to be really happy on something like a Galio in this game because you've got the Ambessa, you've got the Pop Blossom from the Nico to be that primary engage. All you need is follow-up. And if you can just get on the Aphelios and just make his life miserable, like you said, Victor from behind... he is not going to have a great time.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned already for Melbourne University Esports. There is a lot of keep away already from this Rich Dynasty draft. So they ban the Ari. I think, they're looking at a lot of value from the Galio if they weren't already. Do they ban... Okay, so it's going to be a Nautilus. I think you still ban the Thresh here. Take that away, the stock standard Aphelios Thresh combo, which is just so good because it makes up for what obviously Aphelios does lack in that ability to get himself out of danger, which then leaves you, with the likes of a Lulu. I mean, if you really want to dig down to the barrel, something like a Tam Kench that is a little bit more able to give you that survivability, but only post 6. There really isn't a heck of a lot of power that you could bring. Ari, in fact, going to be banned away from Ma in the end. Maybe she thought she was picking in the second phase.
And I think there's maybe a chance that, you do ban the Lulu, because if you've got the Nico on your side, then you're pretty happy to see a Thresh. Yes, it's going to be a problem later on when you are looking for the engages, but as far as the lane goes, Thresh just suffers in these range versus melee matchups. So I think you're reasonably happy to hand that over, especially if you're raising Chinchilla, but they're going to go for the Seraphine, which, I mean, there is a slow. Gravitum does exist, so I can see the vision, but it's still, if there's enough hard engage coming through, and that's not hard engage, that's a Nivea, but I think you go something engagey here, maybe in the jungle, that Xin Zhao.
Oh boy,
there's a Vi. Oh, I love that.
Oh
yeah, that works.
So Rich Dynasty have done something really interesting. They've drafted a comp that excels at going forward while at the same time excels at kiting out aggression. And they've brought the Nocturne, which synergistically pairs with nothing that Melbourne University Esports have drafted. It is just a way to get onto the back line. And unfortunately, the truth of the matter is, unless this Yukiki's Nocturne goes absolutely ballistic, finds himself up 8-0, he's not doing a heck of a lot off the back of the paranoia, unfortunately. So, yeah, look, my money on Rich Dynasty for the way that they've drafted this spectacular comp. And unfortunately, for an Aphelios, Seraphine, Victor, this is a game where you are, chances are going to get ground into the dirt.
Yeah, quite possibly. We'll see how it goes. I think the big thing we're going to be looking for is Mars Rod of Ages timer, because it's always going to be the item of choice on Anivia. And I think that tankiness is going to be so critical, because I think the idea you're going for here is this Nocturne dives in and he's the person that extends the Seraphine ult across the team. And then you try and find that clean engage and kind of shut down the fight. But of course, the other side, you've got a Nico, you've got a Caitlyn who's going to be protected by the Vi going forward. So I think your only real target that is immobile is going to be that Anivia. And if she gets her Rod of Ages online at a decent time and she's tanky enough to survive that dive, like you said, this is a game where you just have no options.
And even if you do get that dive off, suddenly Vi and Bessa just turn on you. Like, even if you do get the perfect paranoia, there's no real guarantee that is going to net you much more than your own death. It is a very, very rough situation to find yourself in. between that public execution, between the so it was a combo that Vestian and I coined. I'm not going to give Vestian credit because he absolutely hates it. Cease and desist into public execution because it's due process. Everyone knows that those served with a cease and desist should be public executed. So due process on the rig. And unfortunately, there is a lot of copyright infringements for Melbourne University esports, especially in the bottom mid lane.
Yeah, most definitely, and they are going to have their work cut out for them. And the other thing about that combo is it just holds people in place. There's so much follow-up. Nico with the Tangle Barbs. That's not what it's called, is it?
Yeah.
And then it is. Excellent, got it. And Raze obviously can drop down a trap. You've got the Anivia with just mountains of CC plus the big circle of pain that she can throw down. So when you find that one pick target, and it is this very immobile Aphelios and Seraphine that you can find, then you will just explode them. And we're kind of, it does feel like we're singing the dirge of doom for this Melbourne University esports side. They come in very, very much as the underdogs in this. But we'll see if they can find those angles, because it is League of Legends. If you find a winning lane, if you can extend it out, then you can kind of circumvent a lot of draft differences. And two of our junglers pathing both towards the bot side. It is just Nocturne who just needs that level 6.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly it. Like, on paper, this is a draft that favors Rich Dynasty. I think there's no disputing that. But at the end of the day, no matter how good your draft is, it is always going to come down to your hands. If you can't play that draft effectively, you're not going to win the game. So while, yes, Melbourne University esports find themselves at a bit of a disadvantage, if they find themselves, especially on a champion like Victor, if you find yourself in an advantageous position, oh boy, it is incredibly hard for Rich Dynasty to play this game.
Yeah, suddenly it becomes playable. I don't know if you want this contest at all.
Or especially like you to Page. He's just been slammed, lashed himself into safety. But Kiki just wailing away with this Nox. And can they get the first blood? Yes, they can. Looking for more. It should be traded back, but Raze aggressively flashing to his death. He's not even going to get the kill. It's going to be Chinchilla picking it up. It's a 1-for-1 right now. Make that a 3-for-1. Going the way of MUE. And that's exactly it. That is what we were just talking about, Weapon. You can have the draft of all drafts, but if you don't have the hands to back it up, it does not matter worth a damn.
Hands and luck, I think I would say. The Guardian proccing on Kiki made all the difference there. Is able to stick into the fight, throw down enough damage, gets the red to get the burn to get the kill. Ayamaru is able to enter the fight late, and then with the Gravitum just slows down the targets and gets enough burst with the abilities popping off to get the damage done. Dapashi lives on a sliver of health, and it's as you say, if you get a couple of lucky plays like that, and I'm not going to ascribe that to anything other than luck, that was a scramble, then suddenly you've got an Aphelios that is actually going to be competitive in this game. Suddenly your Nocturne is just a little bit closer to level 6, and the reality starts to creep in that maybe this is playable.
Absolutely, and I mean, look, yeah, at least Melbourne are looking at one win tonight. You got to be hopeful you can. Right now, 2 kills in the Seraphine, not the end of the world, means you can ramp things up as that Enchantress. They do get the Tangle Barbs down on Deparge, who has been under a lot of pressure. At Chinchilla, they do return quite nicely. The damage trade does lean the way of Rich Dynasty purely because Raze wasn't really effective.
Yeah, definitely. And Chinchilla getting that kill is going to be pumping out just a little bit more damage than the Seraphine on the other side, who does benefit from getting the Ruby Crystal and just a little bit of extra heals, but on her kit when she does get the levels in them. But yeah, the kill's not going over to Ayamaru. Didn't notice that. That's definitely going to be a bit of a bummer for the side of Melbourne University. So not exactly what they wanted from that skirmish. But they are still keeping their head above water in this game. Boyus.
Chaos Storm drop now on Demar. That egg might just be popped here, holding the flash. I think that's a smart call, honestly. This Nivea isn't even going to lose the passive there. So Mar playing that very, very well, holding a cool. Boyas drops a lot to try and make that kill happen, only to find himself unrewarded. That early level 6, and right now, speaking of early level 6, Poltron has been power farming away. Difference in experience is not the greatest, and with that play in mid, Boyas might have enabled Kiki to actually contest this dragon.
Yeah, that was actually gorgeous by Voyas, dumping the ultimate to make sure he had prio and push, and just keeping the Anivia pinned under his tower, so that they could get this dragon. This is likely going to tick Kiki over to level 6, I believe. If not, he will on the next camp that he takes. So really good stuff there. The level 5 dragon doesn't give him much experience anymore, but we'll have it on the next clear. So you're feeling the hopium for Melbourne University that they can kind of salvage this one a bit. Nice by Ayamaru.
Oh,
they get the push, they get the reset.
Raze
We're chilling.
throws out the net just to get himself away from danger. Gold lead slowly establishing themselves for Melbourne University. 400 on both the jungle and support. Results in a lead of about 1,000. And this is what they need. They need to keep that pressure up. This Victor in the mid lane needs to keep going from strength to strength. Find themselves in that lead. Raze is going to be caught by the Runa here, and Ayamaru just starts wailing away with his Zebram. Raze might fall, the heal goes out, and it will be finally a kill rewarded for the bot laner of Melbourne University Esports, looking for more to chill to the Tanglebarb's land. Barrier forced to be used there as he does try and heal himself up with that Zebram.
They just want to get the wave under tower, but it's a really good kill by Ayamaru and Dapashi. That point of strength on the map, that all of the fights that happen around them. Wait a second, Ayamaru.
Oh no, the Moonlight Vigil collected by the clone. That could have been a big twofer going the way of Melbourne University Esports.
It would have made all the difference in this game. Ayamaru is already their 1 point of strength on the map. With this Aphelios, he's going to be contributing so much of that damage in the later stage of the game, but you definitely would have wanted to get that kill, but they get themselves a plate, they get themselves a clean reset. Couple of kills. Raze has been suffering in this lane just that little bit. Definitely not what you expected from this star player. So again, it's feeling hopeful for Melbourne University despite everything. Kiki has been relatively proactive on this knockdown, getting into the right places. We've got Hao up in the top lane. He's being a tank.
He's being
really
the island
into
that is every top
lane.
laner. I'm just going to take this punishment until my team needs me. He's like Batman, but less proactive.
And Voyus, actually, he gets to play mid. He gets to play a role that does stuff. He's probably feeling great.
He is doing stuff.
This is normally the Voyus role.
He's found himself another play at that mid lane. He's got himself about a 10 CS lead, and it's given him that prior to be able to roam around. Ooh, Laser does go out to try and stop Poltron. Does force him to reconsider there, given the distance that had been created. And I mean, you look at it, you take state of the map right now, Weapon, and this team that, again, on paper, you have said no right to win this game, are fighting tooth and nail to make that upset happen.
Boom. Headshot.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm actually starting to question, is Voyus just maybe a mid laner and he only plays top because he's not as good at mid as Mingji? Because Mingji's a beast, but Voyus is doing really well for himself.
Maybe he's just non-confrontational. Instead, he's been told to go top, and he said, okay,
Yeah.
sorry guys. Yeah, I'll just do it.
Yeah, I'll play the
to.
role. It's all good.
I mean, at
Take
this
the
stage,
dog for a walk.
Yeah, he's someone's gonna bite the bullet. I'll go be the tank. I'll do what the team needs. But now that that leash is off, he's really, like you said, barking this dog off. And Voyus, he's just missed. Does get the cease and desist out. Chaostorm dropped in the spot's paranoia. Is it fair? No, it's hitting top lane. They try to turn it around, but the public execution does connect. Doesn't get the distance that BBP needs. And unfortunately, Kiki in the wrong place at the wrong time. Potentially, if they were looking at mid, that might have been a turnaround. But down to the bot lane, Encore comes out, cleanse, force. In comes the Pop Blossom, looking for a turn back into the pass, but the damage is not there for Raze at this stage in the game. The armor is enough of a threat to force this bot lane duo for Rich Dynasty back off.
Yeah, and they're just making them back off, make sure that they're staying honest under the tower. Really good stuff by Melbourne University thus far. It is that kill in the mid lane, which is going to be very relevant for Poltron because he will be able to convert the grubs, but like above lands. But it's been a really good job by Melbourne University to just keep them honest in lane so far. Just make sure that anytime there's a play, no way!
What a flamethrower from the armor! He's found one, looking for more, but doesn't have the range to threaten. But unfortunately, Raze, he's looking for a snack, and all he's eating is ghost chips.
Ayamaru just goes crazy on him. This is one of the best AD carries in the region. And he's just taking him to task, Dapashi as well. Alongside him, this bot lane duo is absolutely legit. Remember, this is the duo alongside the core of this lineup that won the OLI tournament against some really stacked rosters, but nothing as stacked as what we've seen in this tournament, and they are looking great. This is awesome. I really hope we get to see more of this team. It's so unfortunate this is do or die for them, and hopefully they can pull off this upset and make this group really, really sketchy for the rest of the teams.
One of those things that just makes you want to see more of the region. Of course, BBP up in the top lane. I think, yeah, Kiki probably going to be kicking himself a little bit that the paranoia was committed top lane. If it had been available for that fight mid, had been available for the fight bot, they get that guaranteed 2-0 the bot lane. They at least trade one back in the mid lane. Potentially it may look to make plays elsewhere. Unfortunately, Cassante not having the highest of kill threats, even at the best of times, especially not onto an investor. So maybe a potential rethink, but that experimental Hex plate now up and available, so that paranoia is going to be cycling a lot faster.
Yeah, and it just makes that dive threat on the bot lane. Ayamaru.
Oh, that's a massive pop blossom. But in comes Kiki, turning things around, and unfortunately the deck not done shuffling. Voltron there, so is Ma. They're looking for an angle to potentially turn this one around. But in comes Boyas, he's caught by the wall. And unfortunately, there's just too much damage put out. Tangle Bub's great. Cease and desist in the backline. Ayamaru forced to walk himself out, has the heal, but the TP's coming through. It's a big danger point right now. Unfortunately, Melbourne University in the choke point, just eating all of it. Public execution. Back onto this Cassante, who's slammed into the wall, and an absolute routing by the Rich Dynasty.
Oh, you just got to have your head in your hands if you're a Melbourne University esports fan, if you're a part of the club. This Anivia from Ma did all the work. There's the Pop Blossom onto Ayamaru, but has the red gun, so is able to heal out. The Hexblade threatens to the raise with the Nocturne, so he's able to stick to the target, but then the interference comes from Poltron. But this wall just locks Boyas in place, and then the engage comes out, re-engage from Poltron, and there's just another wall, which stops the Cassante from being able to escape, so that allows them to convert the 2 kills, pick up Depashi on the end of it. BBP goes completely ballistic on his signature Ambessa, and this is just a clean wipe. Ayamaru walks away, but that's all you get to say as Melbourne University, and that's equalized that gold lead.
I mean,
I didn't think we would be saying that in this game.
Fight was just absurd. That wall, both walls were just criminal. I mean, not only do they set up Boyas for death, he then gets the follow-up onto Hal by pinning him to the terrain with nowhere to go. And I mean, on top of that, raise with a phenomenal Yordle snap trap, denying Hal the ability to actually contribute to that fight until it was too little too late. Chinchilla, they do the mass, Tangle Bubs do land, but there's no follow-up to damage out of Ayamaru with that Hex Optics. Nothing to sneeze at, but now Raze pumping out damage of his own with his own Hex Optics. Just that threat that can be Caitlyn with the headshot built up.
Yeah, they are going to crash the wave, so they get themselves a reset here, but this is starting to look a little bit sketchy here. Vi on the bot side is going to try to solve a crab, but that's about it with the bot lane recalling. And suddenly that bot lane that was looking so threatening just isn't quite going to have that level of dominance. That last fight where Poltron was able to rejoin the fray was really the turning point, because if you just backed away without Poltron, without Ma joining and being able to really influence that fight, you would have said, okay, fight neutralized, we're quite happy. As Vi's waiting in the wings, I don't think she gets anything here. But you would have said, okay, great, neutralized fight, now we go back to dominating lane. But now...
potentially, the Vault Breaker is there, cease and desist, and the Gravity Well does go down, but it's off the money. Boyas will flash away, but in comes the wall, the Flash Frost, is it going to connect? Oh no, the Paranoia denies the vision, and then it's going to walk away. In comes Kiki, streaming in from screen right. Look for the turnaround play, and Poltron will fall. Hubris coming back to bite the Dynasty.
Boyas survives on a sliver of health. Definitely his comfort zone as far as we know with this player.
Action's not done. Graviton's out, but that's a clone that he's hitting. Looking for the route now with the raise. Can they get the damage to finish this one off? There is no flash. There is nothing in the back pocket to keep the Caitlyn alive. Melbourne University Esports not going to go quietly into the night.
They definitely will not. That is going to be first tower for the bot lane, who have been running the show. They correct after the last play. They even disrupt the back from Chinchilla, so now they can start to play the map just that little bit more.
It's not done. Action upon action upon action, fighting from the University crew. It's going to be the public execution out, but it doesn't matter how. With the 1v1 styling, can't close the gap. Unfortunately, Ambessa just too darn mobile, but absolutely a slap fight that MUE wins.
I think you would have been very happy with that one with Hal, because if not for the flash, and you now get the flash away from this Ambessa, so heading into the next fight will not have that tool available, will just have the public execution to try and find the backline. That is going to make a lot of difference. So Hal has been suffering a little bit in that lane, but he's going to find himself a little bit of an advantage, and it's going to be the Heralds ready to go, but are we diving Boyas again? We've tried this before.
They're angling for it. Poltron is there. Oh, wow. Ace in the hole. It's the Arcane Special, but the Gravity Well does go down. And Boyas just can walk it away. No headshot to connect. Nothing, in fact. Just a silent whimper in the night. As you can see, MUE playing this macro game incredibly well. They've taken tier 1 in the bot lane. They're pressuring tier 1 in the mid. That big damage coming out into Yamaru. On court, not quite there, but the Paranoia is.
At this point for MUE, it's just all about neutralizing. You just want to keep farming up on this Aphelios, get him to that 2-3 item mark where he is able to just take over the fights very much by himself. We talk about the Caitlyn trough. We're living in it. I don't know whether that really exists in 2026, but it is still going to be a sort of reality of the character. So this is the point where you get that breathing room as the Aphelios keep stacking up those items, and now Kiki on the sidelines can keep looking for these plays.
The play, and Best is just too darn mobile. The fear is there, slamming away the Cassante. The all-out comes through, and it will be a kill going the way of the Nocturne, who just limps it away before that ramped-up tower shot finishes him. But it does mean there's going to be a number of the mid lane. In comes Poltron. Cease and desist. Pop Blossom to boot. And they just destroy the Seraphine. And Aphelios not long to fall after. And a twofer going the way of Poltron, who is now sitting 4-2 and 3. And unfortunately, just I think too much cryo over this top lane to the side of MUE.
Yeah, absolutely. The fight might not be over.
Chaos Storm. That's some big damage coming out for the Tangle Bugs Van Boyas. He's trying to get himself away, survives. And it will be caught the ace in the hole by Kiki. And Rich Dynasty very nearly through what could have been a game-changing momentum fight.
We say game-changing. This is dead even from both of these teams. Definitely not what we thought we would see coming into the day with the substitute squads of Melbourne University, but they have looked great, and I do agree. I think the priority on the top side, even with the flash blown on Ambessa, that just makes your life easier as a Cassante. It means that the next honest 5v5, the Ambessa doesn't have the flash, but it does leave your bot lane vulnerable like this to get killed in Ruler, and then they just get dove so easily by Poltron. 4-2 and 3, I think it was at the end of the day. Absolutely massive, just racking up the kills.
Tanglebugs does connect on the ankle of Aphelios here, but nothing really there to follow. I say that now, Pontron's here. You're looking for the scrap in the top side. It's Mar in a bit of trouble here, facing down the Cassante with that distance. Paranoia goes out, but there's no real targets. Diving deep onto the back line, but where's the support? Do they get the kill? No! Nothing found. It's Poltron to clean up his counterpart. Pash in a bit of trouble. It will be Hal soon to follow. Jungler takes out Jungler. Top laner takes out top lane. It was an ambitious Paranoia, to say the very least. Oh,
yeah,
no.
It really was. I'm starting to question whether... No, wait.
What a route out from Depass to try and keep them clear here. That could have been a huge mistake. It's not going to matter anyway. Yamaru, what a turnaround! Huge kill back onto Raze, and he's not done. Chinchilla running desperately, trying to get clear, but Boyas comes in. He's made his guest appearance down on the bot side. Poltron, Gravity Wells down, so the Chaos Storm. Cease and desist is going to be there, but is there support? Can they clean up Poltron to boot? Try and salvage what was a horrendous situation, and they will do just that. A kill going the way of Boyas, finally rewarded.
God, this is so scrappy for really both sides, but Ayamaru's massive in this game. You can see 1.7k gold lead has picked up that Infinity Edge, so when he does decide to turn on someone, they will absolutely die. Richest member in the game by a 1k margin, only matched by Poltron. I think if you want anyone to match a Aphelios, it's going to be him.
What a flash! Boyas, he wants it. He wants the smoke. Mar does have the passive, and there is limited mana. And BBP's here, coming in from the backside with that public execution. The trap laid. Mar plays her passive spectacularly. And Boyas
that's
caught out by his own karma.
That's so rough. Now, sorry, I have to clarify. You've been saying Mar she?
Yes.
Have I got that wrong?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. Good to know. Mar she. Awesome. She, her pronouns. Awesome.
She
really
slash demon, because she is a bit of a she demon on the red.
Yeah, definitely. And really hope we see a lot more of this player, because they are looking great on this squad. Definitely will be progressing into the playoffs. Someone we've been seeing a lot of throughout the competitive scene in OC, and has put on some really good performances on the Anivia, I think. Has been dominating this game.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the
fight that
Kiki wants, unfortunately. And yes, Cassante's a bit of a beast, but I mean, you throw back Uzui now, but they catch Ayamaru, or you think they've caught Ayamaru, and then he essentially just two shots Raze. Yeah, with a quick 1-2 punch combo, having that Infinity Edge in the back pocket. So yeah, look, I think now maybe a little bit shy after being bitten. Oh, they found Kiki. This is not a great spot. Drops the Paranoia just to give himself that ability to get clear.
Wait, he's going.
Oh, he's turning it around. They're actually finding an angle onto BBP. He does have the flash, but there's nowhere to go except the wall. Oh, that's a grim sign for the BBP, the big banana himself. They're looking to turn around. They do get the kill onto Aphelios. That is Ayamaru down and Deparch not soon to follow. Oh, it looked good, and then it looked really bad.
Yeah, it was really close. BBP has actually looked a little bit rough on the Ambessa, but now that's going to convert into this Baron. That's going to be a lot of control afforded to the side of Rich Dynasty. Getting up there that apparently Mar is not a girl. but we'll find out later. Maybe we'll just go with they.
I was told that she was.
Okay. Maybe you're being messed with.
Maybe I am.
Voyas scares them off.
Oh.
That's gonna spell the end of that play. So it's still dead even. Melbourne University, we were expecting a drubbing, and they are really standing up to the likes of Rich Dynasty and showing that they can bleed.
Exactly. I mean, not conceding, not folding. As you could imagine a team like this, Woody, collegiate team coming in against some heavy competition, that first line of resistance, there would be that urge to just sort of roll over and take it. But no, they are step into that line toe-to-toe in the Gold League. 300 only in favor of Rich Dynasty right now. And Ayamaru, I mean, that guy is an absolute beast. Does have that water reminder. Oh dear, the Vault Breaker on. He does catch the pass, but they're trying to get themselves away. Cease and desist out, but look at the damage. Paranoia comes in. That is a very dead Seraphine, but it might be a dead Vi to boot. Moonlight Vigil comes out. It will be. The Infernum goes off. Pop Blossom. Great flash. Proto Belt in from Chinchilla, but it may not matter. It's going to be that 2 for 2 right now. Voyas in the thick of things. Has support coming in for the Casante. Down goes the Chaos Storm. BBP hunting this Victor desperately. Gets on the right side of the wall, and that ace in the hole just to hound Ayamaru away. And unfortunately, it is an absolute rout of the Melbourne University esports crew.
That is going to be it. That feels like it's going to be a bit of a death knell for the game, because the individual moments from this team look so good. The substitute members are having their individual moments, but it's the coordination. It's Ayamaru kiting back, Voyas wanting to go forward, and it just all looks so rough. And this massive engage by Chinchilla finds the backline, or finds Ayamaru with the Pop Blossom, and a flash forward by Kiki gets the kill, but then there's no spell shield. Ayamaru has to flash out, does convert that 1 kill in return, but then Voyas didn't get the memo and just keeps pushing forward. They think they had the support from the Casante, but it's just not enough. There's not enough heal in the world for an Ambessa who can just jump onto you and just kill you.
And it's also the wall, so even regardless if Voyas had survived to that point, Ma just made sure that there was nowhere for this Victor to go, and Poltron, hungry looking for it, and this poor Seraphine again is just going to find herself 6 feet under. And that lead that was so darn close is now just blowing out to 2K. They're looking for this Baron for themselves, that gold graph swing. You can see it. It has been hotly contested, but unfortunately it may not be contested for much longer.
Yeah, it's really good by Poltron. Just playing ahead of the tempo. They wanted to establish push. They wanted to have prio so they could move in and contest, but he just catches them before they can even set up that push. So now they're going to be relegated to trying to get the mid and bot tower and just conceding this Baron on the side of Melbourne University Esports. And that's about all they get. So very much in survival mode. Still just that 2K gold lead, which is, again, it's not insurmountable. But they really need to try to find some structure in these fights. They still have a 1K gold lead on this Aphelios, so the damage is going to be there, but they haven't really been able to find the structure in the fights, with Kiki diving into the backline and the Casante just not really being there to contribute.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Hao is just coming to the party too little too late, unfortunately. So maybe if they can find an angle where every single member of the roster is there, because Ayamaru is absolutely doing the damage that they need to get these fights over the line. If they can just enable them to play these fights, they've got this in the bag. A good Chaos Storm. In comes Hao. If they get it encore to boot, Raze dies, Ma dies, Poltron survives a little bit longer, but then ultimately dies. There is no doubt in my mind that Ayamaru has the output in terms of damage to carry fights over the line.
Yeah, 100%. It feels like if he's not 100 to 0'd in the first few seconds of the fight, if there is some protection, then yeah, he can win it. And he's even gone for the Mortal Reminder. So if he's got the red gun and isn't just 0'd out at the start of the fight, then he's able to sort of drain tank his way through a lot of the damage that comes his way. But I mean, that's barely even a conversation at this point, because you're just going to lose so much real estate just with the Baron, just with the Caitlyn, and Chinchilla on the flanks, always so threatening with the Pop Blossom Protobelt combo. Means it's just so hard to step up to even look to clear. And the wave clear is a Victor at this point against Baron just feels so rough.
Absolutely. You're not having that same satisfactory clear that you would if the Baron minions were just normal rather than empowered. Oh, the wall goes down again. Look at the damage out on a Kiki, nearly 40% of his total HP. All the while BBP just ushering in that wave to the mid lane. They threaten multiple angles onto these inhibitors, but so far MUE have been able to hold. It's just a matter of time. The gravity well goes out. There's nothing to be found off the back of it.
Yeah, it's going to be that Anivia with the egg form ready to go, so you can't really pull that trigger. You're going to be fighting into a minion wave as well, so very much relegated on the back foot here is Melbourne University. Iki looks like he wants to try and find an engage, but I just don't think there's any targets here.
Oh, that's some decent damage out, and unfortunately Voya's forced to go gold, hit by the Flash Frost. And the ace in the hole to boot. So that is a very, very significant source of power. And the recall going off from Ma means that they can then turn around, teleport back into lane. And it's a 5v4. They need to make sure that Ayamaru can play this fight. Paranoia does go out, but all it's going to do is try and dissuade. They send it on in, looking for the damage on the raise, but the pop does it again! Then Chilla on the money with the public execution to boot. Ayamaru gets one, but there's nothing more to be done. And Aphelios is not an island alone unto itself. And it will fall under the weight of the Rich Dynasty. A wipe of the team, only losing your support. And Rich Dynasty will lead the pool, absolutely rousing the collegiate crew.
It doesn't matter what you do to the bot lane. It doesn't matter how far you put behind Raze and Chinchilla. They will contribute, but most importantly, this is a team of 5 superstars. This is a team of known quantities. They are just routing Melbourne University, as you say. They look to put the finishing touches on this game, and it was much closer than I was expecting. And I'm going to be honest, I wish we had a feed on my camera this whole time, because my reactions, my hand was on my head this whole time. I was rooting for this team. I wanted to see this group get messy, but unfortunately, Rich Dynasty, my tournament favorites going in, and they show exactly why.
Yeah, I mean, I got to give credit where it is due. Melbourne University Esports put the screws to Rich Dynasty for the better part of that game. It was very uncomfortable for Raze and Chinchilla down the bot lane until they got out of the laning phase, and that's when they really started to come into their own. I think, unfortunately, the biggest issue for MUE was the prioritization. You've got a Nocturne, which can drastically change the trajectory of a fight, but all that attention was paid to the Cassante. Cassante does not need that advantage. It is perfectly fine just taking its lumps in the top lane and then coming into teamfight time. If they turn that pressure elsewhere, there is a very real chance that MUE walk away the victors in that game. So, I mean, other than that, it was a flawless game. And even then, on top of that, Kiki still played an incredible game.
Yeah, 100%. Still looked great. I think you could definitely make comments about the prioritization of the top lane. Also a little bit shy about looking to mid lane as well. I think that Victor matchup actually went really well for them. So Voyas actually, I think, showed up even in the role swap to the point where I'm questioning whether he even is just a native top laner, because he certainly didn't look like it on the Victor. Had some great performances. But they also got baited. And I think, shout out, if you want to put a player of the match on it, it has to be Ma. She, whatever, we'll get clarification later, but looked incredible. And those walls...
Just to clarify, Hello was the one that told me. The mastermind behind the tournament sabotaged me and set me wrong. But on the whole, yeah, look, Bar absolutely in the running for that MVP. I'd make a solid argument for Chinchilla, because regardless of how that lane phase went, Pop Blossom after Pop Blossom, Tangle Barb after Tangle Barb, completely routed MUE's ability to play those fights. Mart, to be fair, did much the same without Anivia. There was not a single element of that game that was bad for Rich Dynasty, even with Raze being put under the pump. It's not because he played bad. It's because he was targeted out pretty specifically by that bot lane duo. They were trying to do everything they can to put him under the pump and make sure that he wasn't relevant going to play the stage of the game. Unfortunately, it just didn't matter.
Yeah, 100%. And that if there's a player you're going to target on the side of Rich Dynasty, it's always going to be Raze when you look at that squad, the most competitive experience by far. But I think you also have to talk about what Poltron brings to this team. We talked about a lot in week one, myself and Hallo, about how he's one of the best minds in League of Legends, and just little plays that he makes. Like, you can see him leading the charge into the jungle on the top side, trying to pick the Aphelios before they can establish the push, before they can get set up to try and contest that Baron. And it just shuts down everything the opposing team does. And that's why they're such a threat in this tournament, why they're such a favorite. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that experience in the LCP has been invaluable, and he's brought it back to the grassroots scene. And it's not an advantage all too many teams can say that they have to bring to bear in a competition like this. But right now, we are crossing the halfway mark of the evening for the Oceanic Resurrection Tournament. Time for a quick break. On the other side, Game 3 coming up soon. Coming back from the break, we head into our third match of the evening, Weapon, and unfortunately for the Melbourne University Esports crew, they couldn't pull out an upset out of the bag. They really did hotly contest that game, made Rich Dynasty work for it in the end, but now we head to the most volatile of all the groups so far. It is, of course, Group C. Every single team sitting 1-1 as we look to Cat with Sombrero taking on Forever Blessed. So, I mean, on paper, you'd think this could be one of our most hotly contested matchups so far.
Yeah, 100%. I think on paper, these are two of our most, our closest teams, and definitely the whole group itself feels like it's been volatile in terms of the players are generally really evenly matched. There's no rich dynasties in this group. There's no coach by Woodon. It feels like it's been a scrap the whole way through. SK Knight has looked really, really good, so we'll see how he matches up against Theon, who is, of course, always great. There's a lot of really recognizable names on Cat with Sombrero, but outside of maybe Fido, it doesn't feel like we've been seeing that sort of knockdown, drag-out performance we would expect from a lot of these players. So I do think that Forever Blessed, Cadence and Co. come in with a fighting chance in this game, even if you do maybe look at Cat with Sombrero just that little bit more favorably.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the group itself speaks sort of to that, where I would imagine less that it is just this hyper-competitive group in and of itself, and more that it is just sort of not everyone has hit their stride with the competition at the moment. And matches like this is where we are, I think, going to start to see that breakaway point happen coming into this weekend. But, I mean, you look at the rosters, Cadence has brought together his usual band of misfits. He's brought in a bunch of people that he feels confident can get in, get stuck in and do the job. But, yeah, Fido firing at the end. On the other side of that rift, there's a very stacked roster in of itself, despite how the results have played out.
Yeah, 100%. And we expect big things from this roster as they start to put things together. Fido, of course, has looked just unstoppable in the mid lane. Had a great game with the Victor. And I want to have a quick look at the rosters again. Apparently we had the draft ready, so I'll be able to get confirmation. I believe we had a substitution, and we get that confirmed. Flop is in.
Oh boy.
The Sumsock reunion tour continues here in the Oceanic Resurrection.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, Cadence has been such a consistently high-level player. As well, coming into this, you look at Styled on the other side of that coin in the bot lane, pairing alongside Flop, who the hype is there. But Boober as well is somewhat of an unknown quantity for the most part coming into this competition. No one's really quite sure what to make of them, but has been doing absolute bits. Nautilus going to be the first ban away here from Forever Blessed. Oriana, the standard response. No real surprise there at all, given how much power she holds.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I'm looking at for Styled is going to be that Rakan. Ever since role swapping to support in competitive has felt like that's been kind of the standout pick for this player. So some sort of Rakan combination being that secondary or even primary engage, depending on the setup, makes a lot of sense. And then, you've got the Ariana ban away on their side. I'm not surprised we don't see that on the side of Fido. Are we looking at a Xin pickup for Foreigner? It has to be, right? You're banning away the bug? The only way that makes sense is if it's a Xin crackback, maybe with something like a Yunara, if it's not going to be banned on your side. But that feels dangerous to leave open.
I mean, a Kha'Zix ban speaks more to a potential propensity for trigger rather than, I think, being all that greatly worried about at it. But, I mean, as it stands, I mean, you see a number of these strong duos being taken out, at least half of that equation. I mean, the Oriana has so many pairings with that ball delivery system. But Ashe and Kai'Sa being targeted away from Booba down in the bot lane. And for someone who is relatively unknown, carry bot laners are very scary. So you don't want either of those in the hands of
handshaking.
And Jinx even being taken away from Dio.
Yeah, we're handshaking here. So I think this is going to be Ambessa if SK Knight wants to pick that up, and then you could leave the flex open for trigger. And then you're hoping that it's a Xin, probably Yunara, crackback, and then they maybe take the Lulu on their side. That would be the usual priority of things, but obviously things can go different directions. The Rise just hasn't been prioritized throughout this tournament, so now it's finally going to get picked up.
Yeah, I was just thinking that Rise not being banned out. Open as a first pick, just very, very strong in its own right. The standard, counterplay is the Anivia into it for the most part from what we've seen, but obviously that is up to Fido's discretion at the end of the day. Yunara, there you go, like you said, was potentially part of that handshake equation. It is going to be hovered, and an Fury for Foreigner.
Wow. So this normally gets paired alongside the Orianna to be part of that Orianna sort of combo. But really odd to see this one come out so soon. The other one we see into the Rise is often the Casio, which I believe Fido does have a Casio. It does get to kind of make you very front to back. He kind of takes away a lot of your dive opportunities, which is why I don't mind necessarily the Neferi to give you that backline access. And then I think if you structure your fights around some sort of tank, like just get yourself an Ornn or something really reliable, then I can see this really, really working out for Cat with Sombrero. And there's the expected Casio. So we're going to be lining up in the river. We're looking at each other. We're snapping our fingers, and we're advancing each other really slowly, West Side Story style.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. Well, I mean, you'd love an Orianna, given that Foreigner has drafted the Fury, but Cassiopeia, I suppose, will do in a pinch. Nocturne. I mean, again, yes, most standard pairing in the mid lane for both the Neferi and the Nocturne has been banned away by Cat with Sombrero. Interested that it is such a price. Alistar, yeah, look, makes a lot of sense. He's going to do a lot in that bot lane to try and give that space over and make it as hard as possible for this Thresh. Not quite yet your Enchantress punish, but Xin Zhao going to be banned out, in fact, by Cat with Sombrero. I'm curious. The Neferi... Usually, usually you see it paired with an Orianna, pretty traditionally.
Yeah, and you've got your mid lane locked in, so that's probably going to be jungle Neferi. So now what are you looking for on Forever Blessed? I think you're on Cat with Sombrero, Thien. As much as we don't want to see it, there's the expected Lulu. As much as we don't want to see this player on a tank, I think he's going to be on tank duty. And then he just has to be the engage, just be that primary R button presser on a Malphite or an Ornn. So you've got a chance to pick up something which can work into that. I don't know if I like the Renekton in that regard. So Forever Blessed, how do you get through the front line? How do you get to the Yunara? Many questions to be asked.
And a Mundo.
Ooh.
In the jungle. Okay, I mean, I had questions about Forever Blessed draft. Like, it kind of felt like there wasn't too much of an identity, but again, it's not the most consistent identity. It's just a straight, these 5 champions are very good at what they do individually, and stacked on top of each other, they're going to be perfectly fine. And a Rek'Sai. Again, both these drafts are a little bit odd, if I'm being perfectly honest. They don't fall into place comfortably and say, yeah, okay, synergistically, this all sort of lands on top of each other. Again, just 2 drafts of individually very good champions.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you're not happy, you're not too upset with either of these drafts, but I do love what Cat with Sombrero put together here, because they've got frontline. This is going to be very much that tank build on the Rek'Sai, where you just are going to be that ever-sustaining frontline. You've got dive threat that's so easy to pull off, and most importantly, frontline shredding, and then ability to get past the 2 tanks. There's really not a lot that a Renekton and a Mundo could do to stop a Neferi or a Rek'Sai from pressing R on your carries. So really easy to execute a team fight for the side of Cat with Sombrero. Whereas I think Dio and Caden's going to have their work cut out for them staying alive in these fights if this game does to swing against them.
Yeah, I mean, the big problem for Forever Blessed is obviously getting close enough to actually fight with a Cassiopeia in play. So the go forward idea is there. It's just there's counterplay to it. I think Fighter may be kicking himself that he didn't in fact draft the interview, because it gets even crazier value and dissuading that complete full court press from Forever Blessed. But either way, end of the game 3 of the evening here in the Oceanic Resurrection tournament.
And it is going to be the Neferi spotted out on a ward, so noted is the position of Foreigner, going to be clearing from top to bottom, as will be the Mundo. So that potential clash does look like Boomer and Style, they're going to be able to crash that wave level 1 or level 2 fairly cleanly. Invade. This is bold.
Cheeky invade. Foreigner trying to make something happen here onto the Mundo. Jumping forward. Does get a bit of damage out, and is there going to be support coming at all? No, unfortunately, Trigger is just going to mosey on down to his bot side. It is watered at that red buff as well, so Camp's stolen away, and Fido and Cadence going at it. I'd say hammer and tongs, but it's Smurf and Snake at this point.
Yeah, going to be trading a lot of damage. Of course, Fido going to have that little bit more sustain at this stage of the game, so he's completely fine. But this is an interesting situation with these junglers. Of course, level 2 hit by Booba and Styled in the bot lane. I think Trigger, he's going to have to clear his bot side here. And I don't think he gets to split map, and he definitely won't, because Foreign is just walking straight into his jungle. This is psychopath behavior.
Oh, he very nearly was able to smite that one away even. And yeah,
really, really
might
close.
have the level lead, but there is so much standing gold in Foreigner's jungle. He is going to come out well and truly on top.
Yeah, and I think the play was that you've got this wave that's been crashed, so that's going to push back for Boober and Style. It looks like they're going to dunk a second wave, because why the hell not? It's just a Mundo. But they will be able to back off, take their reset here, and then be completely safe, even hitting level 3 soon. Level 3 on their timer. So, yeah, Foreigner going to be clearing his bot side. He's there in case they need it, but the reset can come out, and this is just such a well-navigated early game by Cat with Sombrero. Just off of those kind of crazy invades by Foreigner.
Exactly. Then going to have that lane prior up in the top side into this Renekton matchup. So, I mean, Grub's very much a possibility for Foreigner. In terms of the map state, they've just got full prio Cat with Sombrero. The Foreigner is really getting his cake and eating it too.
Yeah, he's going to get a massive lead out of the jungle there, although right now doesn't really have that lead. Trigger looking up top side, he's going to walk over a ward. The end can press E and not be there, so this is a difficult gank at the best of times. He is just picking away with that last potion in his inventory. As the Dorans, Rek'Sai's not taking any damage.
Cadence forced to flash, and he does, but only to his death. Fido, the staunch up in the mid lane, they'd been standing chest to chest, egoing each other, and unfortunately the Smurf falls, and this Cassiopeia in the hands of Fido stands tall. 11 CS up, plus a kill, plus plates.
And we've talked about how Fido has been the shining light for this Cat with Sombrero team. Has been putting up stellar performances in that mid lane, and there is just the Cassio has the combat rune with the Conqueror, so once that's stacked up, you just have so much extra damage. The end looking for an engage here.
It's nice. He's in a world of trouble. Does have the flash. Has the TP, but there's just nowhere to go. You're not going to be able to clear that distance, unfortunately. Flashes, but the dogs. Can the dogs get it done? S-Knight's still alive at the end. Flashes forward. Happy as Larry. And will walk himself out at danger 2. Very early picks. 4.5 minutes for Cat with Sombrero.
Flash is traded. 2 kills to the good for Cat with Sombrero. They are chilling in this game, exactly where they want to be. And their composition does not scale poorly either with the Unara, with the Cassiopeia. So this is looking great for the side of Cat with Sombrero. Going to be dragon spawning in 15 seconds. So looking for an opportunity for... the whole bot side has reset. So they are completely fine to look to challenge this dragon. Fido going to be having that tier stacking up nicely, and everything's just going great, and that dragon spawning right now, the only thing you could say is maybe that Trigger could look to try and sneak that away, but he's not got bot prio, he's not got mid prio. That's not a good idea.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, unfortunately for Trigger, for the next wee while, he is just, in essence, homeless. He really can't do much, given how threatened his own jungle is. I don't even know if they can make a kill happen here. Fido is such a powerhouse. If Caden steps too far forward, he's in real danger. But look, Fido plays it smart, respects the presence of his big, bulky Mundo, allows Cadence to walk up to that wave, but again, still holding a decent lead.
Yeah, the bulk is the big thing, I think. For this Cassiopeia, such a good counter pick into the Rise, because you just get to take such effective trades if you do extend them, which the Rise wants to do, but the Cassio just does better at this stage of the game. But the thing is that if you hit the poison on someone, then you get the spell vamp on the Twin Fangs coming out from the Cassio rather. So in late game fights, if Fido is not shut down, then that Mundo is just a blood bag for Fido. He's going to be sustaining just impossibly through these fights, and they will not be able to do anything, especially if he gets to like, it looks like he's going for the Archangel, so he's just going to go that one defensive item online. Dio. We move on from that one.
Just pretend it didn't happen. That's what,
yep.
what at least the Forever Blessed Faithful will be doing. Oh, at the end again, looking to get aggressive onto S-Knight here. Does get a decent chunk of HP back, but Thien says, well, my healing's probably a little bit better at this stage in the game. And unfortunately, the Trigger, Foreigner is still on his case.
Oh my god, he just doesn't get to play the game. No one from Forever Blessed is getting to play the game. They really are just leaning on trying to get out of this early game with as little damage as possible, I think. And it's just not going to happen because Foreigner is running straight into Trigger's jungle. There's no movement from the top laners, so this is just an honest 1v1 smite fight. He gets it.
Yeah, it's stolen by Foreigner. Unfortunately, yeah, just with lane prio across the rift. Trigger doesn't have the support he needs to contest this, and he's even going to be stopped at a recall here as S-Knight is in a world of trouble. Dominus pop, but it may not matter at the end. Has the damage, and the ult's still there in the pocket for Foreigner 1. Picked up, cleared, no aggro there. Looking to turn it around the Trigger. And the Realm Warp comes in. Cadence might have just bitten off way more than he could chew, especially with Fido coming in on the backside. Does have that petrifying gaze at the end. Looking to set it up. Fido's there, just a quick tank. Allow this Cassiopeia to get the damage out. No ult for this Mundo. And this is a very, very horrendous position for Forever Blast to find themselves in, trying to clear that wave desperately. And the wave comes in, the collapse on through, double knock up into the Miasma, into the gaze, and they wipe both the jungle and mid lane duo of Forever Blast off the map.
And Cat with Sombrero, they're just playing that dive on easy mode. They had the tunnels set up by Theon. You can see how many times he ducked in and out, whether they were considering the dive, thought that it would happen or not, and then it's just so easy for Foreigner on the Neferi, just presses R to pick up the easy kill on SK Knight. Realm Warp comes in, Cadence just doesn't have the damage, and Fido sits here for so long, they eventually go for the play, and you've got the Neferi, actually gets to the level up. That might have been a bit sketchy, I'm not sure if that would have been enough damage to get the kill, but it is easily just out of the tower range before it even matters, so it just fish in a barrel, quite literally. Not quite literally, it's a crocodile, very different type of marine animal, but they're racking up so many advantages on this top side. This Rek'Sai is going to be unkillable if she's not already.
Yeah, pretty done close, honestly, and just free reign over the Rift. 8 minutes, just shy of 9, and it's a 3.5k gold lead trigger here. Look at the angle in onto Boober, and unfortunately not much Style can do but lead his bot laner to the Wolves. They get one back, it cuts the gold lead by about half a thousand, not a half of total, by about 500 gold. It's their big credit.
Just a little blip in the radar for the side of Cat with Sombrero. Trigger makes his presence known. Fido is going to rip this Mundo's head off.
Oh, yeah. Mundo, nice try. Does have the Lantern out. The Dark Passage from Flop, trying to keep his jungler alive. Has Dio here in support, so Collapse going to be coming effectively a 3v3. Trigger has popped that ult to try and stay alive a little bit longer. Will just walk it out, but a very, very hectic series of events that could have gone drastically wrong for Forever Blast.
Yeah, and I love Foreigner's mentality. He doesn't care about the dragon. He wants to take Trigger's lunch money. He's going straight into the jungle. He's trying to take away more and more resources away from this Mundo because that's what they have going for them, is scaling. And if you take away those resources, make sure the Mundo doesn't get to the point where he can play the game. Oh, that's miserable.
Yeah, proccing the Dominus just to survive the end, who walks away and has all but 90% of his HP, even after tanking tower there. This Rek'Sai monster in the top lane, and S-Knight, he's trying to get that Fury up to get the heal off, but it's not going to matter. At the end, dives on in. The Slice and Dice is going to be the only thing that keeps S-Knight alive, and unfortunately, for how much longer is hard to say.
He might be going for this, actually.
Yeah,
he's got
flash
everything.
it, knock up, chomp, the end with a solo bolo.
Yeah, that is rough. I gotta say, for SK Knight, that feels like maybe unfamiliarity with the matchup, because you have to play a certain way against the Rek'Sai. You have to know that she's going to regen through all your trades. You just try and minimize as much as you can if you don't get that early lead. So, yeah, really rough stuff for SK Knight. And meanwhile, the rest of the map is not going too great either, because there's Yunara, yes, she's died once, but she's only 300 gold behind. Your mid lane is getting sacked. You will eventually have the Herald to take for the side of Cat with Sombrero, so it's just off the back of some really good invades by Foreigner. The bot lane playing respectfully when they needed to, and then wait, we've done it again. Okay,
yeah. Classic Cassiopeia just gets the kill too quickly to the point where we just don't even have a chance to watch it. Unfortunately, heavy is the head that wears the crown, and Cadence finds himself unworthy.
Yeah, ultimate on cooldown, so I guess it was just a really good timing with the ultimate. Just got the stun off and then melted the Rise, who doesn't have the Rod of Ages completed, so he is a very squishy boy. Doesn't quite have any damage because he hasn't built up the blasting wand either. So he is very much made of paper. Speaking of being made of paper...
Oh, S-Knight has had a real rough run of it, and Theon is not going to ease up on that trigger right now. And Foreigner does have the ult. He's just going to get himself in range. Dominus popped, but what does it matter? It burns the flash as well. Trigger comes in. All he can do is sit there and watch as his top laner dies. We're looking to turn onto this Mundo as well. Foreigner, who levels clear of this Mundo right now?
He's just running the Rift and going wherever he pleases. Stark contrast to what Mundo wants to do. Apparently it's the dog who gets to run the doghouse. Trigger he wants to contest. I don't think he ever gets to.
I mean, even with Cadence there, he's just been corralled out as soon as Fido shows up in the neighborhood. And unfortunately, it's beginning to feel like this game might already be over.
Yeah, this is feeling a bit grim. Said coming in that these teams felt like they were relatively evenly matched. Cadence is dead.
He thought he was running clear, but it was a trap. Styled there. Even the wild growth just to make sure that realm warp doesn't go through. 0, 4, and 0 on the rise. A 2,000 gold lead, nearly half of Cat with Sombrero's lead in the pocket of the Snake.
Yeah, and I will remind you that this is Group C, where all of our teams are dead even. They are sitting at 1-1, so Forever Blessed are on the verge of effectively just being straight up eliminated. I don't think there are any scenarios where they lose and they can get through tiebreakers or anything like that. It's one and done. But this is Cat with Sombrero, who have taken losses in this group. They have taken a loss, but they have not looked this good. This is a level of composure that we expected from this team coming in.
Well, Transcendence going to do outsider just to dissuade them up on the top side. Yeah, look, S-Knight is just being bullied. Perennially bullied. There is little to nothing left in that top lane. He's just hoping and praying that his tower goes down and he can just end this lane phase and join the rest of the team.
Yeah, it's rough. You don't really get to do a whole lot here. Fido's probably going to get that first tower. He's been given the Cassiopeia counter pick, so he gets to just win that match by default. I think if the Empress is half.
In comes the dog, and S-Knight's dead again. A rampage for Foreigner at just shy of 14 minutes.
And the other thing that's really scary about this for Dio and Cadence is that that's two incredibly fed ways to reset tower aggro. So there's nowhere safe to be on the map. You've got Neferi W, you've got Rek'Sai Ultimate, both really effective. Fido.
Petrifying Gaze just trying to sway the tower, finally goes down, flashes over the wall, but Trigger is on the hunt. Fido should be able to heal through this with that Conqueror, has support from Styled as well. And I'd say Fido limped away, but it's a snake, it doesn't matter. Foreigner now on the hunt. Trigger has been spotted. He's just going to corral him out once again. His jungle is no longer his own.
Yeah, nothing belongs to Forever Blessed in this game, and you saw exactly what I talked about. Yes, he nearly got it, but Fido, who's coming in with low health, he had to burn the flash to go over the wall. But in the later stages of this game, if we even get there, Trigger is just there for Fido to stay topped up on because he would just be life-stealing like crazy off of that Mundo Bolt. Styled. Good sidestep. Well, not even sidestep, just a miss.
Someone's pinging like crazy down in the bot lane. And I think I see why. Suddenly Fighter and Foreigner are on our screens, and that tower is not where you want to be if you're a Forever Blessed bot lane duo, and they are just going to vacate the vicinity. They don't want a bar of it.
Yeah, it feels familiar, actually. We did talk about this. Well, I talked about this as a bit of a Sumsock reunion tour with Cadence and Cadence Styled and Flop back on the Rift. This feels right with Styled being on the winning side. I think that was how things used to go a lot of the time. And that's going to be first out. Pick up the Yunara. Teamfight very much online. Now you just start to talk about objectives. 2 minutes and 30 on the clock. That's going to be the Hex Texel, which you pick up by rope. You've got the Herald to pick up as well, so you can just start to close the gap around your opponent, or close the noose around your opponent, and just choke them out of this game because they cannot contest any of these fights.
The plates few and far between, unfortunately, for this Forever Blessed roster. They get the first plate in the mid lane. Outsider transcends. They want the smoke. They want the heat. Wild Growth's out as well. Jumps away. In comes the dog. Foreigner rushing onto this poor Aphelios. Only has so far to go. And all the while, Outsider ramping up. Big damage. Flop balls. The bot lane duo's gone. Now Trigger having to run this Mundo. The healing's not there. You're not level 16 just yet. No protoplasm bout. What are you going to be able to do? Oh, well, it does survive just. But it's a very narrow margin of life for this Mundo. The Doctor was almost dead.
Very, very close. But I think that was probably one of your best chances if you are Forever Blessed to try and collapse on Boober and get the kill. But Foreigner just comes out of the wilds. He just jumps on Dio, dissuades all of the DPS from participating in the fight. And from there, they just pick up the kill and they pick up what will be a massive advantage here as we'll see it. Like you said, they wanted the smoke, but Foreigner popped Dio.
Yeah, unfortunately, Yunara just given that space, allowed to ramp up, and poor Trigger running like Forrest Gump, trying to get himself clear. Does survive to fight another day, but at what cost?
It's costing you a bit of everything. That Yunara is going to keep
10,000 gold, 17 minutes in.
That's a bit. Definitely not what you wanted to see, especially when your life was very much in your hands in this group. And I did come in saying that these two teams can be relatively evenly matched. Apparently Fido had other ideas. You did expect Fido to be a high performer in this group and in this tournament. I'm glad to see that the rest of the team is kind of showing up around it.
I mean, even higher performers feeling like a bit of an understatement given how this game's gone from really just controlling that prio mid, allowing this Neferi in the hands of Foreigner to run rampant, and we're still seeing it. I mean, with 17 minutes into the game, there is still no position where Forever Blessed can comfortably contest the Neferi running rampant and triggers jungle.
Yeah, and look at the difference in scaling items between the two. It is going to be that fully completed Seraphs for Fido. He did get a bit of a delay on the Rod of Ages, but he's still basically on the same pace as Cadence with the one stack of it. So he is very much just huge in this game, and you don't really get to even look at Fido be on the same screen. The end. He is a Rek'Sai. I will clarify, he remains a Rek'Sai.
Yeah, notoriously elusive. Rek'Sai is. It will be a bit of a struggle point. And to be fair, you don't have anything that really locks the Rek'Sai down all to that greatly from distance. They just don't have that threat from downtown that you'd want. And old Fido, yeah, just throwing punishment in. The Herald comes out. Petrifying gaze as Cadence turns around at the wrong time. In the wrong neighborhood, and Fido yet again just holding on. Will jump into the Herald, crash into that tier 2 in the bot lane, and once again, they are just walking over Forever Blessed, unfortunately.
It's a horror show for Cadence on this rise. He's looking at Gargamel, but apparently Gargamel is some sort of snake creature in this particular instance. As Herald's going to crash, it's going to get them more real estate on the map. That is maybe one of the biggest gold leads we've seen in this tournament. It might be the biggest gold lead in the tournament.
I don't even know if it's Gargamel. I think Gargamel has just upgraded from Ezreal to just a snake. Like the cat's only going to just do so much in dealing with these Smurfs. Snake doesn't care. Cold-blooded. It's just going to go and wipe them all out.
Yeah, it's kind of if you play Magic the Gathering, Rotten Mouth Viper, I think is what we're seeing, just annihilating your entire board. That's what Fido is right now, and they're probably just waiting for the Baron to spawn. I think they just do this on spawn.
Yeah, I think they are.
They have a Cassiopeia. They can just press Cassiopeia buttons, just melt that thing. Yeah. Snake v Snake.
Oh, it's rough. It is very, very rough. The Forever Blast, given the standings were every single team in this group being 1-1. Unfortunately, disparity. I mean, yeah, look at it. The gold lead since roughly 3 minutes 50 has just been well and truly in the hands of Cat with Sombrero, and there's just been no ease up whatsoever on that downward trajectory. Baron now in play. They clear the waves, and well, I mean, realistically, Foreigner says, I might be able to do this myself. I don't know if he can, but he's going to give it a solid crack.
He's going to have the cavalry coming in to help him with the big purple worm, so he will be completely fine. That one's going to go down nice and easy, but I think we have to talk about this in the scope of, this game is done. This is done and dusted. We will not be seeing Cadence and co advancing in this tournament, and that's a shame, because obviously they are stalwarts of our little oceanic scene. But I think we have to talk about what this team is showing us in this particular game and whether they can bring this against other teams. Because Fido has been regarded as one of the best competitive mids in the region. Foreigner has always been a standout in the jungle, and Thien is just Thien. So the only question marks we would have going in would be around that bot lane, and they've looked pretty good as well. So I think this is great signs for this team moving deeper into the tournament, that maybe we can see them be competitive in playoffs.
Absolutely. You'd hope so. It makes for more enjoyable gameplay to watch if it is the case. But right now, it is a bit of a lockout. S-Knight, oh boy. Him and his one item have been found yet again. And Style walks in, throws a good lunge for good measure. And it's going to be Foreigner to come in and collect it, it looks like. No, the healing just there. It's going to be Thien. Pops the Void Rush to make it a done deal. Flop, jumps on. A double kill for the Rek'Sai. What more can Thien find as he's just slowly healing himself up and away. Trying to reset that aggro. Outsider, unfortunately, catching it for himself. So the health bars have taken a bit of a beating courtesy of this tower. They like to back themselves off for the moment, but all the while, Fido in that mid lane. They're looking to collapse this wave in, get some big damage out, and unfortunately, yeah, the HP is not the healthiest for Cat with Sombrero.
And there's no response. You can see all the towers that haven't been touched. This is, oh my god.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Cadence is 0-6, unfortunately. Has just been manhandled in the mid lane.
I think this is going to be it. What I was going to touch on is that plates just let you extend the gold lead so much easier if there's no response from the opponents, and we are going to lit back away to fight another day. There's going to be dragons spawning in 1 minute's time if we even get there. There are no bad targets to dive on for Cat with Sombrero. Even the Mundo feels like he's very killable at this stage if you just have the dive buddies of Thien and Foreigner just jumping in there. So I like, this game is Giga over, and that's why I kind of tried to shift the conversation away from, like, okay, this is great, this is awesome times for the team, but it's such a disaster for Forever Blessed. They are a little cursed.
Keeping in mind, so Foreigner is 3.2k, I think it was, away and clear from anyone on Forever Blessed. Not just this jungle matchup, which is a 6.4k gold deficit, but the richest player on Forever Blessed, still, yeah, look, 3,000 gold the difference. Dio has 3,000 gold less than Foreigner.
Yeah, that's rough to say. And, like, he's also gone for the hubris. So the stacks are just falling off now, but he will very much get those back in the next couple of seconds. I can promise you that. We are bearing down on that top lane tier 3.
Thien's looking for the flank here. Wants to come in, get that knock up off. You can see the damage that is being thrown out right now. I mean, it's crazy to me. 2-level lead in the top, 3-level lead in the jungle, 3-level lead in the mid lane. It's only 1-level lead between bot support and both. Then there you go, Voidrush comes in. My God, Bot's game. He's just straight executed. They're looking for the one turn back, and they will get that shut down on the Foreigner, but Dio's low. Trigger not much further beyond, and S-Knight jumps into the Realm Warp to safety. But it doesn't matter. They have just been steamrolled over. And the Nexus towers will fall. The Nexus is sure to fall too. Do they get the one back? They do. Fido eats it courtesy of the tower. But it does not matter worth a damn. Captain Sombrero, 17.8k gold clear of Forever Blessed, will take the game 19-4.
It's light work. It's a siesta for Cat with Sombrero. And that felt like one of the most dominant games we have watched in the Oceanic Resurrection season. They just ran them over. And Fido, I keep singing his praises. He looked damn good in that game. You saw at the end of it, the Yunara, Booba, would have been really happy to get involved in this game because most of the game just kind of happened around him. Thien was an absolute monster. Incredible performance. Good signs for them moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they from the draft to the lane phase to beyond the lane phase, it was just Cat with Sombrero consistently having themselves the time of their lives. They had control. And it all started with lane prio enabling Foreigner to just remove Mundo from his own jungle.
Yeah, and just the coordination that this team showed. This is what a experience will get you in that jungle role in particular. I think you have to assume that a lot of teams do rally around their jungle as a shot caller. So you saw the coordination, invade on the top side, have the bouncing wave on the bot side so you could be safe and make sure that there wasn't going to be a counterplay. And then, mid lane, top lane, prio was there. They looked kind of indomitable there. So good stuff. Also, we were baited, because we were told that there was going to be a spicy pick going into the draft. So the admins were like, yeah, this is something really cool. Keep an eye on it. It's a Rek'Sai. We've seen it before. Very cool.
That was the spicy pick. Okay.
Yeah, that was the spicy pick, apparently. The Neferi, maybe? I don't know.
We were lied to. I'm going to be real. But no, either way, it was a good gameplay. It was a really good draft in terms of backing up the aggression that they were trying to achieve. So Cat with Sombrero, they knew exactly what the game plan was, and they executed it near to perfection.
100% looking great. Moving forward in the tournament, we'll be into the playoffs. We'll find out who will be joining them alongside them in Group C tomorrow when high-heeled Steelcat boots face off against Amp Enjoyers. We will certainly see, because this has been a very competitive group. Like I touched on a few times throughout the game, it really doesn't feel like it should have been competitive with Cat with Sombrero in. It should have been down to the other three. So they stepped up in this game. They look great. And we've got another game on our hands. We saw a stomp.
Yeah,
one break.
Yeah, we do. We have a bit of a longer break coming into this next one. But yeah, I mean, look, for a group that was all 4 members sitting at 1-1, that could not have been a bigger disparity by the end of it. I think that is a case of, yeah, look, anyone could show up in the day and have a good day. And that's, I think, unfortunately, what Cat with Sombrero was the victim of earlier on in the group. But right now, it is time for a break. Around the corner, Group D to round out the evening. Well, it's been a mixed bag tonight here at the Oceanic Resurrection Tournament, even with our great and glorious leader throwing me under the bus and sabotaging me with a bit of misinformation. But weapon, we come into our final game of the evening. Skull Bullet taking on Rush Hour 4. And I, for one, am sick and tired of all these brute-forced money grab sequels. It might be time to just end the franchise. And, well, Skull Bullet could be the one to do it.
They could certainly be the ones to try, and we're going to see the lineups here. There is a lot of big names over on Rush Hour 4. A team that, kind of like our last match with Cat with Sombrero, coming in as a team that we expect a lot of. Maybe some viewers might not be as familiar with Rank and Evewin, but I can tell you that they did absolutely tear up things over in the various QUT tournaments, so they're definitely a couple of players to keep your eyes on. They've had a bit of a lukewarm start, but against Skullbullet, who not only do they have some substitutions and some role swaps, but they have also not been having the greatest of tournaments. So I expect this is going to be a bit of a warm-up for Rush Hour 4 heading into the playoffs, if they even get it there, because there's some weirdness going on that may even mean that they don't get out.
Yeah, there's a lot of implications in terms of the standings, and those tiebreakers being down to game times, if I remember correctly, could make things very, very convoluted, which is why we don't do that. We've got tournament admins that'll handle that because we just talk and then get confused and math's hard. But I mean, looking at this game so far, I mean, you've got some very, very notable names. I wouldn't say massive names, but notable names for sure on the side of Rush Hour 4 coming into it, and ones that you would expect to be able to perform. But Skullbullet, I mean, it's crazy. They find themselves in a position where they can tie up alongside Rush Hour and force that tiebreaker to potentially steal that higher standings away from them. So it's not like it is an irrelevant match for them by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, definitely not. There are chances that they can actually play the spoiler and even potentially advance, I believe. Like there's some scenarios. So it all comes down to this game, and it comes down to tomorrow's game. And we have substitutions on Rush Hour 4 as well. Violet swapped into the mid lane. So I believe he's like a bit of an... Okay, just happened, apparently.
Last second substitution. So the brothers will be taking the rift together in top and mid lane. Violet obviously coming out of bot lane for the Chiefs in the LCP last year. Made it to the promo relegations tournament in Taipei to potentially look for a spot, unfortunately losing out to Inferno Esports, but back again looking to dominate the domestic scene. And Bessa banned away by Skullbullet, wanting to deny that away from old Mogwin or Doraemon.
Yeah, weird that you see that band on the blue side. Probably means that Daya is not necessarily comfortable in that. Neither is Goosey, because the champion just feels way too strong, especially in the jungle role. But they will be taking away that Victor. I want to say, I feel like when Violet has played mid in various tournaments, he's a bit, much like Praedyth, actually, a bit of an Ari one-trick pony. So we'll see if that does come through for them. It seems like if you're an AD carry and you play mid lane occasionally, that's the champion you reach for. As we're banning some weird stuff. I think we've just loaded up Violet's OPGG.
I think it's more even, honestly. That guy has played some weird and wonderful champions in the jungle. Notably, Kha'Zix has been one that he's pulled out a couple of times. So I think the Zed more likely banned away from the jungle necessarily from the mid lane, but Zink is copped a lot of prio here. Victor and Syndra banned away from him in the mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, if this is an emergency substitution and Violet is not necessarily stepping into that, from a place of comfort, maybe you do just take away some tools away from Zink. He's a very good player, so I expect him to do quite well in that matchup. But yeah, Evewin, we have to talk about this player because he has looked incredible in every tournament we've seen him in. The Lee Sin has been a standout, and that one is still available if you want to reach for that, but often it is going to be those standard things like the Xin Zhaos, like the Pantheons that come out in that first rotation. I am so keen, Mr. Panda, for us to get to some best of series League of Legends, so we can see some extra stuff come out in these picks and bans. Because right now it's just you just kind of draft from the tier list and you just go completely fine.
Absolutely. The Rise picked up here for Zink in that mid lane. Orianna let through, so that will be taken by Violet. Pretty stock standard, pretty safe, pretty easy to execute. You just give it that ball delivery system for Evewin, and well, actually, to be fair, he's not the one most known for the ball delivery system champions. He's sort of that solo queue jungler where I'm just going to carry this game. You guys can be along for the ride. But the Yunara for Praedyth down the bot lane, again, two very, very scary picks already for Rush Hour 4.
Yeah, absolutely. There's the Varus locked in. Now, Varus on hit was buffed, and I've been seeing some people trying out the crit build. I don't know if that's very good, but that could be a possibility. Nico Lockaway is interesting because it doesn't deny the loop. And I was going to say Jinx Lulu would be the obvious crack back here, but it looks like they're going for something that's going to be a bit more priority focused. Try to sort of bully their way through the lane and then have someone go low, and then you try and come in with some sort of heavy ganking jungler. Could be the angle they go for, but we're heading into the second phase of bans, and junglers have there's no junglers on the table, so we just take away things like the Vi.
Yeah, I mean, Varus Nico is a pretty scary combo, especially when it comes team fight time. That Nocturne banned away from Evelyn, that standard pairing that we've seen time and time again with the Orianna. So, I mean, Mundo, okay. So Rush Hour 4 are laying down the gauntlet and saying, if you don't ban him here, we are 100% picking that Malphite in the jungle for Evelyn.
Yeah, and not something we've seen a lot of recently. Definitely took some nerfs, so it makes sense if you've got two very immobile carries in the Varus and the Rise that you can just press R on and find that target. Even the Nico as well, going to be pretty susceptible to that one. But could be certainly the lock away, and if you've got an Orianna, put the ball on her. It's basically like a Nocturne, but slightly better because you kind of send people skywards once you do it. So knock up is very good because it's like it's true CC. Can't nullify it in any way, so you can just let the Yunara rip after that. It makes a lot of sense.
Unfortunately, I think Rush Hour 4 may have just gotten onto the fact that they've backed themselves into a little bit of a hole, where if they pick Malphite, the smart response from Skull Bullet is just slam a Silas. Like, yeah. There is just... And I'd say, as much as Malphite is the go-to counter to a Malphite in the jungle, Silas is arguably a little bit better. So they're going to go for the Scion top lane for Doraemon. Potentially could be a Scion jungle. I have seen it over the last couple of weeks. I hate that I can say that I've seen it over the last couple of weeks, but it is a possibility.
Yeah, it certainly is. I don't really want to see it. That's possibly the Zahungle. We will get confirmation on that very shortly, as it is going to be the B5 pick coming through for Skull Bullet. And I don't hate this draft, actually. You've got a decent mix of damage. That's going to be the Zatop with the Lee Sin Denial in the jungle. So if anyone knows how to play against Lee Sin, it is going to be Evelyn. But he is just going to pick up one of those standard picks. So Rush Hour 4 have decided that they are better than their opponents, and they're just going to play standard and make it work.
Yeah, I mean, Xin Zhao coming in, stock standard, safe jungler, plays incredibly well, still a ball delivery system. And he's going to do a lot to make this game very, very hard for both Goosey and Daya, who are trying to get close, even Lin Sanity. So I think, yeah, Rush Hour 4 have given themselves a great little draft. Skull Bullet, it's not a bad draft by any stretch of the imagination. They've got some incredibly strong picks in their own right that could make this a little bit harder to play. But as we jump into it, final game of the day, we're headed to the Rift. Skull Bullet taking on Rush Hour 4.
And Rush Hour 4, of course, coming in as the big favorites, really looking to see what they can do in this game. We're expecting the win. It's just to be a question of how they get that win, because we've seen a lot from the team. Praetor has been absolutely stellar when he has played for them. Violet definitely had a bit of a rough one when they did go down to UNSW Howl, who, I keep saying it, don't underestimate the intervarsity teams. The competition is fierce over there, and they can pull out some stuff that can surprise you. Is going to be that pokey version of the Varus on Wrangle's back, so he will be able to get some priority off this. It's just a question of what the Lee Sin can get done with that control in the lane.
Yeah, it does shift a little bit of onus in terms of DPS to the rest of Skull Bullet, rather. But, I mean, Lee Sin can quite comfortably build into a little bit more damage. Doesn't have to go outright tank that Sundered Sky into a Black Cleaver. He's going to be pumping out a lot of punishment. And off the back of this lethality Varus, that potent Varus just setting up for them to ultimately pull that trigger and go for the execute.
Yep, 100%. Trying to just keep Praetor honest in lane, and if you can't beat him in a straight up 1v1, straight up honest team fight, then why not just go for the poke option? Just try and dominate the lane from there. Makes a lot of sense. I love Violet going for this Comet, really just putting the screws to Zinc on the Rise, who won't have the ability to crack back quite as hard. So just really making sure that that matchup gets maximized. We often see the Summon Airy for similar reasons, because it kind of gives you even more hurt on your auto attacks, but this just makes those short trades just even more harsh from the side of Violet. And, we talked about lane priority. Wrangle...
Oh, Linsanity going for the flash forward, but in from behind, here's Goosey. Doesn't matter. It's Wrangle to pick up the first blood, and Mighty Bulldog nowhere to go as the Sonic Wave does connect, and a cheeky little play from the Tri-Brush of Rush Hour 4 nets them two very, very nice kills, and the lack of vision down on this bot side coming back to bite Rush Hour 4 significantly.
What camps did the Lee Sin take? Wait, hang on. Did he do Raptors into bot side gank?
He did.
That's psychopathic.
He didn't even do Raptors. He just completely started in Rush Hour 4's bot side jungle.
I did not even see that. I was looking at the map, trying to figure out what he did. So he split map, and then just full cleared the top right quadrant, went straight into the bot side, got the gank. Kind of heads up by Goosey. Kind of crazy. He is going to be able to pick up a lot of his jungle here, but this is kind of bonkers. It is still going to be dead even at the end of the day. But as far as the Poke Varus and the Nico go, that's a great start. It's everything you want. Goosey is going to potentially be spotted on a ward here, so...
But triple buffed Evelyn in this game, on top of the fact that there was a kill picked up. Yeah, look, there was a kill picked up by Evelyn in the mid lane. They do get that successful gank onto Zinc, but Goosey very much being rewarded for his aggression at the moment. Even was looking to threaten some of those camps on respawn, but there is just nothing up right now for Evelyn.
Yeah, he's not even clearing his own camps. He's looking for this fight because he's got the level 4 advantage. That Q is going to go wide, so he's going to walk back into his own jungle and look to finish his clear. Going to walk away with a decent little camp advantage. This topside matchup is also winning for him. So outside of that mid lane, everything's kind of okay for Skullball at this point. And Goosey can just complete his clear and look to kind of rinse repeat on that bot lane where it looks like that wave is being relatively held quite safely at bay. That is going to crash, so never mind. Yeah, I mean, look, come on, man.
It's one of those things. It has been discussed since those changes came into the game in terms of speeding up spawns. It is that much harder to regain after those early invades because lane prio is so much more important now. And if you don't have a lane that has that winning prio, you're just never going to get that bailout you need to try and equalize. But picking up that kill on the Zinc in the mid lane early has done a little bit to save Evelyn from the situation he could have found himself in.
Ooh, Deo getting beat down, has gone for the Conqueror on the Zehen, so won't have that extra health, won't be able to take those short trades as effectively. Goosey looking in the wings. If Violet steps up, which I don't even know if he's quite low enough to even be threatened, so yeah, Goosey's going to rip the cord. He's going to go straight into his bot side jungle.
Oh, come on, Shockwave is going to be there. Big damage done onto Zinc, looking for the rundown here. Goosey was potentially looking for an angle over the wall, and Violet has to know. The only reason Zinc could be sticking around is if there was a jungle here.
He's going to shepherd this wave in.
Yeah, he's going to usher him to get to... Yeah, I mean, it's a bold call to stick around here for Zinc, and yeah, he takes some punishment for it.
Yeah, both sides kind of really tempting fate here, though, because Violet doesn't have a lot of mana to his name. So he's going to try and dunk another wave, really just put the screws to Zinc, and then look for his reset. Goosey in bot lane.
Praetor is being hounded. Goosey's going to be there. There's a minion potentially looking for that jump forward, but Evelyn coming in on the backside. This is a dangerous spot for Linsanity and Wrangle now as they look to jump in, look for that turnabout play, and Praetor might just be able to collect the kill. The slow, it's an egregious slow, and it will be Praetor to collect the turnaround kill. Sonic Wave does connect, but Goosey, I don't know if you want to be taking that, jumps himself away to a minion. That could have been disastrous.
Could have been a disaster because Praetor, once he had that passive stacked up, the cultivation on the Q, he just does so much more damage than Wrangler could ever hope to do over the stretch of the fight, and has that extra movement speed from the E, from the Lulu, so just running them down at the tail end of that fight got a little bit sketchy. Game's relatively even, still that slight advantage to Rush Hour, and I don't think you want to see that as Skullball. They've had their struggles throughout the tournament. This is definitely going to be one of their biggest yet. Props to them for keeping this even up until that point, but it does feel like there's that inevitability creeping in where this very experienced roster will just turn it on and kind of drown you out of this game.
Absolutely. Insanity looking for something mid. Bulldog is there, but you can already see just the level disparity leaning towards Russian for Goosey's at it again. In the jungle of Evelyn, he's going to get the red buff. He knows he's got it on timer. That is freely his. And Evelyn just going to finish off those Krugs and look to try and mop up what he can remaining in his jungle. Cheeky. I love it. Oh, Wrangler's died.
Oh, I hate to say it. I was going to say I love this from Goosey because if this is a very experienced roster. This is literally some of the best competitive players we've had in the region. Cheese them. Get out that Gouda. Just go crazy on them. Try and get into the jungle, steal away stuff on timer, and go for a full damage build. Looks like Goosey's actually going to go for the Eclipse. So, yeah, for sure, do it. Unfortunately, the issue is that you are facing down Praetor and Bulldog, and your bot lane will just eventually get outplayed. And Praetor is stacking up that little bit of a lead for himself. It's going to be that 700 to the good. Bulldog stopping Linsanity's backs, making his life miserable. Wait a second.
Stuck around, killing spree onto the Yunara. They're looking to run down Wrangler as well. No mana left for Praetor, so it's likely not going to net a kill. But even still, that was a freebie that should never have gone this Yunara's way. 1,000 gold lead at the 8-minute mark, and Well, even more to be found as well as they're going to clear this wave, crash yet more under the tower, make it harder for Rango. Evelyn's here to boot. Salt's in the wound. Chains of Corruption go out, so does the Crescent Sweep, but the Wild Growth going to keep Bulldog alive, and yet another payday in pocket for Praetor.
Bulldog, even though he's rooted, is able to use the Glitter Lance to pick up the aggro just as the Chains of Corruption CC is fading, so he's able to do his job perfectly despite the peeling attempt from Wrangle.
Oh,
Daya might be
what are
picking
you
up
doing,
something
buddy?
here.
I don't know why he's walking back into that, but Daya has the passive stacked up. He is a fighting force. It's going to wear off, though. Those stacks now all but gone, but look at the damage in and of itself that the Saheen is doing.
Yeah, it's not a fun matchup, but Doraemon is doing a good job just being a tank. He's just there to soak up the pressure and show up in late game team fights with a massive health bar. So Zahen, as much as he does scale quite nicely, it does feel like you want to kind of put the pressure on just that little bit more, maybe get Goosey up there. Speaking of, he has found his way into the mid lane.
Looking for an angle onto Violet, does dash forward onto the ward. The Dragon's Rage, the Sonic Wave going to be there. Can they find the kill? Violet just holding on. Evelyn not coming in to support because she's more worried about the grubs. Flash not going to be there, and it will be run down. Zink gets a bit of revenge with help from Goosey.
Definitely what you want to see, actually. Getting that kill into Zink is going to really help close a little bit of that gap in the mid lane. Speaking of gaps, Praetor has done it again. Also has Bulldog. We need to give the supports their due. He's pretty good at AD carry.
Yeah, look, for
a
a very long time, Praetor has been up there amongst the best in the region on the bot lane. 1,700 gold clear of the next richest player at 10 minutes.
Yeah, and when you're a team on Skull Bullet who have gone for this lethality Varus, you won't have DPS to speak of until the Rise comes online. So your ability to take fights that are just honest, contested, like 5v5s, that doesn't happen. That's a fully completed Kraken Slayer, and
on top
building
of
up towards
a 10-minute Mikhail's for Bulldog.
Yeah.
So good luck sticking to Praetor at all.
Yeah, thanks for looking at the support items, because I really wasn't. I was looking at the boom boom damage Kraken Slayer.
Support to represent 2.4k gold at 10 minutes with no signs of easing off.
That just shuts you down so hard. You know, you've got the Chains of Corruption, that just becomes irrelevant. Already have the Cleanse on Praetor, which is on cooldown at the moment, but there's a chance he just plays to bait that cooldown out, and then just turns and burns with so much damage from this point out. So Wrangle and Lissanity really going to have to be on notice here.
Tanglebub's land, as does the Piercing Arrow, but yeah, look, it's kind of fraudulent damage at this point, especially with Evelyn down on the bot side. Eclipse is finished for Goosey, so he is going to be a reasonably significant damage threat come team fights. Or even, not even team fights, just ganks. But realistically, you haven't got a great lane to gank at any point in Evelyn. Going to be walking over this control ward. Linsanity and Wrangle are going to have to calculate how are they going to be able to play this one. The Realm Warp is not going to be there.
We've seen this movie before.
No TP is going to be there. It's a full collapse down to the bot lane, and they're hunting Wrangle right now. Chains of Corruption go out. Bulldog not even going to pop the Mikhail's Crescent Sweep. It's almost a solo bolo onto the Varus there by a Xin Zhao. Luckily though, Goosey comes in the flash. Wild Growth combo. Goosey polymorph to boot. They get so much out of it for a couple of ultimates to kill there onto Insanity. Goosey falls. Command Shockwave! And Zink falls too. The last time I saw a Goosey throw this big, it was the Melbourne Storm up 14-0 over the Broncos. And they still lost the damn game.
And there is the rugby reference from Blue Panda. You can set your clock by it. Fear it, dread it, it always comes. But speaking of fearing and dreading, that dive, you saw it coming from a mile away. You could see the cavalry being called in by Skull Bullet, but there's just nothing they can do when Tradeth is this far ahead. And Evelyn has the support of Bulldog.
Dore up big. The solo bolo. No one's expecting the Sion to kill Zaheen in lane, but Dore's just done it in spades.
Oh god, the Wong brothers are out in full force on the Rift. There's just the E into the tag. Daya doesn't have the passive stacked up. And then Dore just presses R on him, and it's an easy pickup. This is just going so good for Rush Hour 4. Needed to see this from them. Violet is dead.
They get the one, get something back, but a 5.5k goal lead at 12.5 minutes. Oh, and Goosey's missed his timing. He had the camps on timers, and Evelyn has reclaimed his jungle. He's even finished his pet. So he's up a decent... Okay, and Wrangle's dead again.
Oh, it's happened again. Praetor and Bulldog just doing whatever they want. Also has... I was going to say it's the Runons, but I completely forgot about this item, Fiend Hug's Bolt. Every time Praetor presses R, he just kind of takes your head off with 3 guaranteed crits / true damage. Not a lot you can do here as Goosey, besides keep trying to be annoying.
Oh, and Evelyn still gets the Grom, and he's hunting down Goose. He wants a bit of revenge. Dragon's Rage back over the wall. Return to sender on Mogwin. Oh, and Goosey, he is well and truly overstayed his welcome. Praetor's here, transcends, goes forward, and Violet forces the flash away from Zing. And Rush Hour 4 hits the box office to great fanfare.
They are definitely doing it to him on Skull Bullet. Not finding any success.
Kills in the hands of Praetors, by the way. Oh, it's about to be more Wrangle falls. That's number 11. He's looking to run down Zink. That's going to be 12 of 15. Can they find Lin? No, they're going to give it over to Violet.
Linsanity gets to dance on. So I'll be completely honest. I was trying to remember who is in Rush Hour. I know it's Jackie
Chris
Chan.
Tucker, Jackie Chan.
Yeah, it's Chris Tucker.
Yeah, Chris Tucker.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. So there's some easy ones there. You know, we've got Lee Sin in the game. He's kicking people, but he's not really on the winning side of this. So it doesn't feel like you can make those sort of jokes. Evelyn, how did he die?
They collapsed on him, so there was like 4 people. So he's in the middle of it, and then Praetors rocks up and cleans up even more kills.
See, I was distracted by trying to think about Rush Hour.
There you go. So 4.5k gold clear of the richest member of Skull Bullet is Praetor currently. Oh, and he's 5,700 gold clear of his lane opponent, has the Hex Optics, and there is not a single damn item finished in Wrangle's inventory.
Yeah, that's not what you want to see if you're a Varus. He really wanted to be the guy pushing the pace in that lane, but we talk about the Varuses with the lethality build as something that can get priority, but it needs to be hitting those arrows and doing significant damage to have that priority, and that did not happen. Brucey, you can land a Q.
Oh, he's gonna do it. Polymorph. Yeah, it is the Lulu. Oh, that's Praetor. He's legendary now. Oh, and Brucey follows up the Sonic Wave. It's TOR to steal it. Deserved, honestly.
Yeah, deserves some credit. He's been putting in hard yards.
Praetor is... How many of 19 kills? Okay, Eagles found one. Day is dead. 13 of what is now... Okay, so he's going to get a passive proc. Yeah. 13 of 19 kills, by the way.
Channel the Q and...
Honestly, they're just playing with their food at this point. Poor Daya just has to take it on the chin.
Like, one day he would have been able to move his character.
So 15 to 20 kills, a 75% kill participation rate, and Praetor gets it! Praetor still gets it!
Gives over the shutdown, but honestly, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
Linsanity.
no,
Could he get this?
Full commit under the Lulu, but
one auto.
No! Run, Lulu! Oh, okay, shutdown there. 1,600 gold in shutdowns on the bot lane duo of Rush Hour 4. Oh, in comes Goosey. Linsanity's still dead. Violet's here. This is just an absolute mess of a game. Goosey gets his one, takes out his jungle counterpart, and then Violet mops it up 24-8, 16.5 minutes in, and an 11k gold lead.
My only regret is that this is not exactly the final game of the group stage, but it definitely has the vibe and feel of one. Because I think we've just decided on Skull Bullet's side that we're coming in with a substitute roster. We weren't really matching up for our opposition anyway. Let's just send it and see what happens. And I've loved the efforts from Goosey to just be an absolute pain in the side of Evelyn. But at some point something's going to give.
Oh,
and
he transcends, forces the flash away. Praetor is just... okay, Wrangle's dead. It was fun. 16 kills. This might be the highest single... Wrangle is like level 12. No, he's not even level 12. He can't be. He's level 9.
Level 9.
He's about to be 3 levels down on Praetor.
Oh, God. So, bit of a lesson about
currently,
Legends.
He's about to be 5 levels down on Dore.
Oh, God.
Oh, Day is dead.
Eventually.
Dore on the Scion is on a rampage. Oh, they get Praetor again. He's gone from an 8 KD to now I think it's just shy of a 5. Oh, yeah, okay. I don't know why Goosey's jumping back in there, but he sold the farm. Zeke's got 28-9, by the way.
I landed the chains, guys. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Oh. Wait, hang on.
It's not an unhit Varus. There's no damage to follow this one up.
I hit chains. Oh no.
There's going to be two hits, me hitting the chains of corruption and then me hitting the floor.
And that'll show up. That'll learn him. Teleport in. Seems ill-advised.
Yeah, they are. He's gonna stack the passive, so he gets 1 and a bit lives. They're not gonna get the kill on the TOR. Oh, he doesn't even get the passive. Okay.
Okay, so I see the vision. Evelyn was low on mana. There was a chance he could have ran out of mana and had to kill you with his auto attacks, which he basically did anyway. Yeah. So Praedyth having this level lead. Quick lesson about League of Legends. Levels matter in terms of giving you your defensive stats if you're an AD carry, because that's free.
So,
and that's why he gets to do that.
Okay, so Wrangle has been level 9 for the better part of 4 minutes now. Oh, Praedyth's not done.
Why wouldn't he be?
So since the last time Wrangle died, he has not been able to level up.
Yeah, and that's why he's so squishy. Because
17 and 3. More than half of the team's kills are currently held by Praedyth.
Yeah, so like Praedyth looks at him and he kind of evaporates. We're engaging again.
Yeah, okay, so 2/3 of the kills are currently 66% kill participation for Praedyth. And exactly, okay, soloed Zaheen by an Orianna. Okay. By a substitute who traditionally plays bot lane.
I think he has played mid in a couple of tournaments. I feel like he has. But, yeah, like day is getting.
So the game is about to end before Baron spawns as the inhibitor falls into the lane. Evelyn he's under the Nexus towers, but courtesy of the wild growth. That is the 19th kill for Praedyth. Can he crack a 20 bomb by the game's end? Rift Herald in, Sink in trouble. Praedyth runs forward and Wrangle dies to give the 20 bomb to Praedyth. And he's looking for more. Can he get 21? Daya, what is he going to be able to do? They pulled TOR in, but he's a tanky boy. That's another one. Goosey falls. Praedyth gets, he doesn't actually, it's Evelyn to steal it. And Violet
and Evelyn, you scumbag. The
20 minutes, was the on Baron the plate. Has been spawned for all of 10 seconds as the Nexus will now fall. In fact, they're gonna milk it a little bit. Give that Baron a little bit of uptime before the game inevitably ends. 20 minutes. 20. Just end the game. There we go. 2025. Last year's game ended today.
And I predicted a stomp coming in. I predicted a bit more of a stomp than we saw from the last game. I think a lot of people did. Like, props to Skullbullet. That was our qualifier team. They came in. They did their absolute darndest, and I want to see more of these players. But that's what happens when you kind of face off against the best players in the region. Probably some of the best players in the region. Not much to say. They tried. Rush Hour 4 looked pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm still trying to think of a joke revolving around Rush Hour 4 and Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. So if you got anything, like, hit me with it.
I mean, Jackie Chan still does his own stunts. Well, I don't know if he does recently, but he did for the better part of his career, and he's still going to be, snapping necks and kicking butts and taking names. So, I mean, realistically, I don't know if there is a metaphor. Skull Bullet, they tried. I mean, you're a qualified team.
I've got it.
Okay.
I've got it. You know that stunt that Jackie Chan did in, I think it was Police Story 2, where he had to slide down that chandelier and cut up his hands? Yeah. That was the trajectory for Skull Bullet in that game. They jumped. They tried to go for it. They grabbed the chandelier, and their hands got shredded on the way down.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're a team coming through the qualifier. You're playing with the big dogs. You're in a situation like this, in a situation anywhere, a team in that situation like Skullbot was, you're not expecting the teams that were there, the teams that have been established for the longest times, the teams with players that have been playing in Oceania for the better part of a decade to pull their punches, and they were never going to. Rush Hour 4 does not. And credit to Skullbullet, they did a couple of things throughout that game. They got a couple of kills. They actually put a bit of work in early. Goosey, to his credit, really did make that a little bit harder for Evelyn than it could have been otherwise. But yeah, I mean, having a look at how things round out at the end of the day, it does paint a little bit more of a picture, but it's a complete wipe from the left-hand side of the screen. No real upsets today. Everything was as expected.
Yeah, I would love to actually hear from production if we can. I feel like Blue Side has won nearly every game in this tournament. The Blue Side win rate is completely absurd. First pick right now, especially things like the Ambassador and the Rise, just too damn good. But yeah, the expected results in a lot of these games, we kind of tipped going in that basically every single team on that left side would be winning, but we'll be seeing the group stages, and this is how we're rounding out. Remember, there is a set of games to be played tomorrow, so Still some stuff to be decided, but overall, I want to say a lot of expected results, but the journey to get there in terms of how close a lot of these games have been between some of our best teams versus teams that we didn't really have a lot of expectations going in for has been really exciting.
Interestingly enough, though, by the end of tomorrow, we could have 2 different groups with 3-way ties in both groups A and D, which is rather interesting. But, I mean, as it stands, Rich Dynasty stand away and clear at the moment. Cat with Sombrero, much the same. Look, there might be... So there will be potentially a tie in the first seed position of Group C, but there's no one that can test beyond that. Whoever wins tomorrow from Group C will be the second team joining qualification alongside the Cats. But, look... entertaining as anything today, I'll say that.
Couple of stomps, but they were fun to cast, and it's been an absolute pleasure casting alongside you. And I'm really keen to see how the rest of this tournament turns out after our final day of group stage games, heading into the playoffs. We will be looking at those best of games, so the drafts will get a lot more fun. We can assure you of that. We'll get to see some variation as we go into the fearless stages of the tournament and really see these teams orient themselves, because best of ones versus a best of series is a very different ball game, and this is where we're going to see the rubber hit the road. It's going to where we're going to see champion pools and your whole game plan get challenged.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's something even at the top levels of play, we've seen an interesting development changing from those best of ones to a best of threes, where you have to be a little bit more thought out in terms of the draft, because as the series gets deeper and deeper, that changes how the implications fold out in terms of that draft. But for now, we are done and dusted. One more day, of course, before we head towards that playoff sweep. But thank you so much for joining me. Unfortunately for all the fans at home, they've booked me twice this weekend, so I will be back tomorrow with yet another of our wonderful casters. Until then, see you tomorrow. Have a good one.